order at 7:00, whatever time it is, too. And we have Dave's flag in the background. If Dave can point us at the flag, we'll do the pledge otherwise. So join the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag
to the flag
of
of the United States of America
and to
and to
the
the
republic
which
for which
stands
stands
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
with
and
liberty
justice.
and
liberty and
justice
justice
for
for all.
Thank you. So you're gonna have to put up with the fan for a little bit. I don't see the public here, so no public input, and all correspondence has to do specifically with our projects. We don't have any additional correspondence unless Kathy got something after 11 o'clock this morning. Okay. So then we have the approval of the regular meeting minutes of January 12th, 2021. So I will make a motion that we approve those regular meeting minutes of the meeting from January 12th, 2021. Dave Olson seconds, Dino seconds, everybody seconds. Everybody had a chance to read them, I'm sure, in advance, so we should be able to go ahead and approve them unless anyone has any changes, additions, etc. We're good?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye. Opposed? Done with that. Just a quick, and we can talk a little bit more about this. It's not there on the agenda. It would be a little later, but I just want to say that people who were slated to be reappointed, Dave Horvath, Perna, me, were reappointed at the Board of Selectmen meeting, the last Board of Selectmen meeting, and y'all have to get sworn in. So you're going to get a letter, if you haven't gotten it already, from Lisa Berg, Town Clerk. I was in the Municipal Center today. I went to Lisa, I got sworn in. She's doing everything by phone.
Yeah.
So she's not going to everybody come and make an appointment and etc. So you'll get the letter will basically, you'll get sworn in by phone. She's sending you the letter that has a sticker. You have to sign the sticker and send it back to her so she can put the sticker in the oath book, because you have to sign the oath book. So you guys will have to get that done. Once you get the letter from Lisa, I think it instructs you what to do, call her or whatever. So if you have about it, let me know, but that'll get taken care of, like I said, over the phone, so you don't have to all go schlepping down to the Municipal Center, because I don't think they want a whole lot of people in and out of there right now. So we'll just go along with our agenda. Old business, our school renovations around Rockwell and Johnson School. We have construction progress schedule update. We did not get a report on progress from Rizzo, but we did get the schedule if everyone can or had a chance to. I actually cheated and actually printed it big at the Municipal Center so I can see it. But Ken, if you want to start, please, with giving us an update, and we'll talk about the schedule too.
Okay, so for Johnson, the stage flooring prep and the putting down of the LVT tile has started. They're about 40% done, and they said that they're gonna have another guy tomorrow and they'll be done by the end of tomorrow. We've got the folding partition scheduled for Thursday and Friday going in. We're having bleachers installed on Saturday along with the volleyball sleeves. And the curtain contractor, he's got like a 2-week booking right now. So I'm trying to get him in the week of February 8th or sooner. So that he's the the last one outside of the painter that has to paint the top of the gyp board on the, above the stairs of the stage. We gotta take the plastic down so we can get that painted. So that'll take care of that stage area. And the canopy, the metal framing has started. We've got the steels all up and the decking has been completed. So now we're focusing on doing the MEPs. And in a week, we'll be starting the ceilings and getting that area finished. So that is pretty much it for Johnson. Any questions? Okay.
At Johnson, was it Johnson where the sewer backup happened again?
Oh, yes, it was. So it's looking like it's that same existing intersection where it comes from the admin and it comes from the classrooms. And it's like a Y. So it just looks like there's some old solder or something in the joint that is making a blockage for, I guess, the paper gets caught up. And it lasted a pretty good long time from the last time we cleaned it.
And what size is the pipe again there?
It was 5-inch. It was 4 to 5. Right there.
And so did it, floor ever opened up and anything done there, or was it always just what's existing and it was determined?
No, we were never tying into right there. We tied in,
Other places?
yeah, up from there.
Okay. And what was, my understanding was that when Otto came out, they were gonna check further and do some sort of recommendations, or is that still going?
Right now, I'm not sure if they have plans to do further investigation, or if they're gonna, say that replacing that part of the pipe might do it. It's hard to say, but if there's an obstruction right there, it certainly would be part of the reason.
And did we ever run a camera up there?
Yeah.
Yep, they did that too the other day when they had the clog.
But they couldn't see anything specific?
Yeah, they think it's a piece of solder from the old joint that must have came loose and it popped up.
So Ken, is this something new then? Because I know the last time we've talked about this, they thought there was a swale, like a belly in the pipe due to settling over time. But is this something that they think might be?
Yeah, the belly's still there. It's just,
Right.
It does seem like it was a new from previously. So I don't know what's going on, but it doesn't seem like it was there before.
Okay.
It's been working fine.
Yeah, no, I know you've run a camera down there a couple of times already, so that's why I was just asking. Thank you.
Yep.
So the other, Nancy,
Right?
Nance,
Yes.
so if Rizzo or part of this project had no disturbance of that section of pipe, like Ken is indicating, and that has to be some work, is the project going to get hit with the cost, or should the Board of Ed, because it's pre-existing, it has nothing to do with the project?
Right, but that's difficult to say.
I think there's additional flows going into the pipe now.
Yes, yes.
Is one of the issues. And we've heard about it, a month and a half ago, and I thought they did some research, but I'm not too sure. I thought the engineers were gonna look at it and just make sure, you know, the design is right, because I think we had some larger pipes going into smaller pipes. So you know, and I'm not even too sure at this point because there's been a lot of going back and forth, but it's definitely something we got to get this resolved. I mean, you know, I think this has to raise up a level so we can get it resolved. And I don't know whether we should have, you know, Joe Colada talk to the MEP team and at least take a look at design, what have you.
Yeah, Roy, I don't think there's any additional going into that line,
Okay, see, that's what I wasn't too sure, Joe.
because
you know,
the addition doesn't run down that pathway. The addition has its own line out.
okay,
It's just the toilets that were at the nurse's office, which there was already nurse's office toilets down there, and the gang toilets that were in the classroom wing. So I'd have to check back, but I don't think there's drastically more fixtures. And it's not like we added 20 more fixtures to this line.
yeah, you know, and I'm just not too sure because, you know, this has come up quite a few times and they've been flooded, you know, quite a few times. And I just, this is something I think we gotta solve. And
Oh, I agree. The issue has to be resolved 100%, and now's the time to do it. But I'm just concerned that, you know, this is going to be another major cost, and it wasn't contributed to the project, or we didn't cause it. You know, does it come out of the Board of Ed's money?
But I don't know. I don't know why it would be a problem now, though, John. You know, and you know, before it wasn't. So, you know,
It's part of the project. I mean, the schools are being renovated. It's part of the project.
right.
I think as new, so that's part of the project. So I think that we have to look at what's the best solution, and I don't know how we come up with that. Somebody, I think, might have been in one of the emails that Geraldine included me in, where some kind of lining was suggested, and I don't even know if that's possible.
Right.
I mean, wouldn't that mean sticking a smaller sized pipe through there and you know, if that stops if it decreases the flow, so to speak, but stops if it's paper hanging up on a some kind of something that's hanging out like a piece of solder. I mean, I've had in my other house in New York had a situation where there was a slight belly when a new line was installed and paper started building up there over time. And we had to dig it up and just straighten the line out. It was something where once it was installed and everything was backfilled, et cetera, it was done properly, et cetera. And then we had a really bad rainy season and flood. So the ground got really soft and it really pressed down on PVC going out and created just enough of a belly where over about a year's time, stuff started building up. So, you know, if there is a belly there and there's also something for paper to grab on, it could kind of start by grabbing and then lay in the belly and
well, the problem with that is if there is a sharp, because I've used liners on a couple of my jobs in the past and they do work very well. They're not that thick, but the problem is if there is something sharp down there, once you run that liner in there, it will tear it. So you actually have to clean out the pipe first with an auger and get it somewhat smooth before you run anything else down there. So while it's not a perfect fix, but to your point, Nancy, you still have the belly.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still gonna, even if it's a little bit slicker of a seal, you know, piping, the silicone piping, it's still a belly.
But is there a way to correct the little bit of a belly with putting a liner in? Can you create a situation?
No, it just expands against the outside of the inside of the pipe and just seals against it. So it solves one issue, but it doesn't solve everything.
But the clog keeps happening at the juncture of the three pipes, right?
Not in the belly. Ken Hunt, that's a question for you.
That's where the clog has been every time.
Right. So I'm just looking at the existing drawings. The line coming from the classroom wing is 6 inches. The line coming from the admin portion of the wing is 4 inches, and they tie into a 6-inch that's going down and out of the building.
So it sounds like the size is adequate. There's just something in there that the camera really hasn't been able to completely identify So how are we going to resolve this?
If it's at the juncture, you really can't line it. That wouldn't bring any value.
No.
So who's looking into how are we going to resolve this? Because not me. It's
Well,
not
I could,
Dave.
I'll run it by DTC and see what they say, since it seems that it's at the joint and this is new information about the solder and potential clog at the joint itself versus the
And-
previous reports.
And Ken Hunt, do you have something from Otto with like a report, or what did they see? Or,
No, they don't,
all right, you muted yourself, Ken, or something.
yeah, I'm sorry. They don't
It's okay.
usually send us a report. So we have to you have to have someone there when they're doing it. Bob was there for this one.
Okay, so maybe we could get some info from Bob, but we've got to come up with something specific, because first of all, we got to find out what the problem is. Because if it's at the juncture, if it's always at that Y, and I'm assuming it's probably a Y, not a T.
Should be a Y.
Okay, so if it's at the Y, is it a piece of solder? I don't know, when you stick those cameras in, they're not that clear. But is there a way of finding that out? Obviously, we would want to avoid jackhammering the floor up. Correct?
Yeah. What's that? It's 4 feet down, right? Isn't that, I think, Ken, was it 4 feet down? 5 feet?
Probably gonna be 4 or 5 feet, yeah, 4 or 5 feet.
At a minimum.
And-
Okay, thanks.
And Dave Horvath, you were saying about putting an auger in there. What, you'd put some kind of heavy duty, big giant,
Yeah, so
Grindy.
Kaiser Battistone I used to use. I don't know if they're still around or not, but I used to use them. And we had a pipe down in Stanford that was similar to that. And they had an expanding auger that would go in and actually just scrape
ream everything out.
ream
Yeah.
everything right out. And it had a water jet up on it as well. So it'd push everything down through. I don't know if they still have it. I don't know if the company's still even in business, to be honest with you, but I've used that before and it worked well.
And that's cast. It's all, the pipe there is
And it
cast.
was all, yeah, it was 1930s cast. It was all
No, but
very,
I'm talking about in the schools, it's all cast.
oh, sorry.
Is that pipe that's
Yeah,
through their
yes.
cast? Okay. So, and they do it in a way where they're not going to damage the cast to the point where it's going to have to then get jackhammered up and replaced it. So-
I hope so.
Yeah, so that could be
Mhm.
something that would need to be checked into, I would assume. And I guess we may need to consider, until that's done, doing some sort of Arco router, roto router, something periodically to make sure the backup doesn't continue to happen while they're,
Those companies might have the same equipment, so
Mhm.
it's worth asking.
So are we checking into this? Who's checking into it?
I think it'd be good if Joe checked in, with design, to check the design first and see what their recommendation might be.
Okay.
But at the same time, could Rizzo also speak with Otto or somebody to see if they could find out, like, should we once a month go in and cleaned out?
Right, as maintenance.
We,
So, Roto, last time they were here, they gave a price, kind of like a contract to come out 4 times a year for $825 each time.
okay,
That's
So-
not terrible.
we'd have to consider that until
Right.
a more permanent, and so it would be quarterly then. When was the last time it was backed up, Ken? Do you remember?
This looks like it was December 1st, the 20th, but it was just Wednesday. I'm so, let me
So-
think, it
So it was,
Thursday? I think it was Thursday or Friday.
so a little over a month and a half.
Well, no, just last week was it just happened, but you're right. The last time Roto-Rooter was here was the 1st of December.
Okay. So It sounds like 4 times a year is not enough.
Oh,
Ken, could you look back and see how many times and what the periodicity was of it so that we can kind of come up with something that could be sort of a temporary fix until we come up with a permanent fix?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any more on this?
I just wanted to, just looked at the number of toilet fixtures from existing. So there was 5 in the admin end and 10 in the classroom end. And the current is 5 in the admin end and 8 in the classroom end. So it's actually 2 less toilet fixtures, which is due to handicap accessibility.
hey, Joe, do you think it might be because of the low flows?
I don't think so.
I mean,
But-
low flows, you have less water, but at the same time, you have less pushing.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's less water to wash it down, and the pitches are considerably steeper. You know, they're steeper than so the water washes right out.
All right.
So,
Yeah, my understanding is you don't want too much flow though, because it would just flow over the waste. So
yeah. I don't know. Maybe the engineers have a recommendation.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we want to spend, $800 a month.
Right.
If we're going to
No.
have to.
Ken,
We also don't want to have to jackhammer up the floor. If we
Yeah.
have to, Dave Horvath, I don't know if you could look into if someone's still out there doing the augering thing that you talked about,
Looking right now as we speak.
Okay.
hey Ken, I don't recall, but in the last in any of the previous times that they scoped, did they go all the way down to that joint?
Yes, yeah, it's about 35 feet right from outside the nurse's office.
Right. Okay.
That's usually where they went and they would see it right there.
And they didn't see any deterioration or solder at those other times, right?
They did one time.
Hmm.
And it seemed like it wasn't there after they power jetted, so I don't know
Okay.
how loose it is, if it's falling or lifting up.
Okay, so we have some people looking into some remedies for this because we can't keep, and obviously having Roto-Rooter come once every 3 months isn't gonna
Yeah.
be a permanent solution. Okay, does anybody have any other questions or comments, observations for Johnson? Ken, did you give an update on the whole vestibule situation?
Just the canopy. Yes, the steel and decking have been completed. And the, right now we're working on the metal framing. And the MEPs are being started.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else, any questions or anything for Ken on Johnson? So Rockwell?
Okay, for Rockwell, we have the toilet room deck was completed last weekend. The concrete company is set for this Saturday, and he's just gonna need the authorization for overtime and the plant opening. That's what he said. The price that he gave before was during the Christmas week. And now he's talking about if he's gonna come here on a Saturday, he wants the premium time and the plant opening charges. So if I get approval for that, I'll give him that approval for the morning. Then we'll get concrete on Saturday.
That's this coming Saturday or a
That
Saturday?
is, yep, this coming Saturday. So I don't have a formal document into the committee because I just got it this afternoon. And I've been talking to them for the last couple of days, so I apologize, I just don't have it. I didn't get it ready in time to give to Geraldine. The other work that's going on is the gym wall base is going tomorrow. We're doing a TCO inspection Thursday afternoon. So that'll include the fire alarm and the, the generator test. And then we'll do final cleaning on Friday. The bus canopy was opened for Monday morning, and we still have to do the glazing for the panels on the steel in the vestibule, and that glass is coming in February 2nd, so we'll get them back there to finish putting in those glass panels. He said it's about a day's work. And we're expecting to get the roofer finished on the edge, on the fascia edge. He's got 2 more days. He's had some bad weather the last couple of days, so it was supposed to have been done, but he's gonna need 2 more full days. And he'll basically be doing some odds and ends on the roof to finish up. And that's it for Rockwell.
So you said they actually used the vestibule at the bus loop? At
It
the,
was available to them. I don't know if they did. I heard they didn't yesterday, so I'm not sure if they did this morning. It was all, the floors were waxed on Saturday, so it was, the whole lobby was stripped and re-waxed on Saturday.
and where are we with like working through punch list items for both schools? Has that started, or are we still kind of heavy strong into getting the construction parts done and the punch list stuff is waiting?
No, both punch lists have been reduced considerably, and we're working on just a few pages for each school. So it's quite a bit has been done in the last 2 weeks and Saturdays.
Okay. So any questions for Ken on Rockwell?
No.
And then we did get the schedule, so can you talk to us about the schedule, Ken?
Yeah, so basically, for Johnson, we've got, the gym was turned over, and the only thing left in the gym are the finishing up of the bleachers and the volleyball sleeves, and some punch list work. And then the stage is the folding partition right after the flooring finishes and the curtain. So really, the big item is the canopy, which is going to be the end of February. That's what we're scheduling up right now.
So you have that big thing, the canopy slated for end of February, but then obviously site work in the spring.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Well, ironically enough, Kaiser Battistone was bought out by Wind River, which is a company I use at my Westport offices. So I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Wind River, but they're a very large company.
I've heard of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I have, because they actually bought out a bunch of other smaller
Yeah.
septic companies, and they actually did the clean out of my tank last year.
Well, there you go. So they supposedly do all this stuff. So I don't know if you want to hit with the first people we use already, the Roto-Rooter or whatever they are, and see if they can do it, or look into somebody else. But maybe we give the other people the first shot. I don't know.
I can get Wind River to come over and look at it if that's what you're looking to do.
Well, but if whoever, so Otto came out, is that something they do? You might need to ask them, or whoever else has come out before.
Well, when I had Roto-Rooter do it, it was because Arco Rooter, their equipment was in the shop, so they didn't have availability to do it. So my understanding is I think he augured it the other day. And, you know, right now I'm just, they're thinking it's the joint that needs to get replaced, but you know, Arco's been out there several times, so for quite a few years.
A few years, meaning this backup happened before the project started?
He says he's been here for 5 years or longer.
Okay, so if the backup's been happening for 5 years, why didn't we deal with it sooner? That's a rhetorical question, and if anybody wants to answer it, they can. Why wasn't that part of replacing things that might need to get replaced or any of that? Again, rhetorical question, but anybody can answer it if they'd like.
Well, I guess that's a rhetorical question to me, and the pipes were scoped and found to be in good condition for the reports and the scope. So
Right.
I'm not sure why this is occurring now.
And if it had been occurring before, it was checked, and it's mind-boggling. It's pretty much everything. So can we, I don't know, so where do we go from here with this thing? Who did, they augured it with what? A metal auger that reams out the pipe, or they augured it with a one of the swirly water things that cleans out loose stuff?
I believe it's just a metal wire whip at the end of the line.
So it probably needs something more substantial to really clean it out, if that is possible.
Yeah, there's bits, what they call like the root choppers. It's actually a solid bit that goes through and can do all that. Again, we don't know the condition of the pipe, so are we asking for trouble or not? That's the only question I don't know, because it's been down there for 40 years. And is it the walls? Are the walls thin? Are they going to collapse? Something else going to happen? And I don't think anybody can tell us that answer, to be honest with you, without digging it up.
Nancy, I still think we gotta let Joe just have the engineers take a look first and just check the design and see what the low flows and what have you. You know, whether we're gonna have a bigger problem now than before. I think we really should just check the design first and then take it from that step, you know, forward.
I already sent them an email.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. All right, anything else on the schedule or project updates, construction update for Ken? So now we move into FF&E technology playgrounds.
So on furniture, we're complete and everything is delivered. We're waiting on a final punch list visit from Perkins Eastman. I don't know, Joe, if we got that scheduled or not, or no, we didn't schedule for the,
For the 3rd.
right.
But Lindsay won't be getting there till 4.
Oh, so the half day doesn't really matter.
No,
Yeah.
she has a meeting during that half day, so.
All right, but based on our records, having accepted all the deliveries and placed all the furniture, we believe everything is, everything has been delivered. Everything is someplace in either one of the schools, and they've repurposed some of the furniture based on reusing rooms because of COVID distancing. So we think we're finished with furniture, except for the replacement of the 2 medicine cabinets at Rockwell. That got kind of lost in a shuffle when the account rep from WB Mason left WB Mason, but they've just been reordered. So as soon as they're available, they'll come and swap those out. Other than that, I think we're good on furniture.
So, and Lindsay is what, checking just to make sure everything's where it's supposed to be and et cetera.
Yeah, I think the Perkins punch list ends up being for compliance with the specs. Did the right. We believe the right things came in based on our records. They're looking at it from a more of a specifier point of view, and if there's any damage. And at this point, we're so far away from deliveries that, if there is significant damage, we're going to have some trouble resolving it. But we've tried to take care of some of those items as furniture were delivered and installed.
Yeah, she also,
I think a final check.
Yeah, she also checks colors and make sure the heights are right and all the right size seats are with the right size desks and things like that.
And that probably all has to be done too as part of some state paperwork verification thing.
Well, and it's just part of their
good practice.
The
Okay.
architect's services. So we
Right.
want to,
Yep.
close that out.
Yep.
The furniture specification. On technology, we're really just waiting on some security work to finish, and that's dependent on some hardware work that's still pending, hardware installation work that's still pending in the 2 schools. And of course, getting the security work completed at the Johnson vestibule will be another couple of weeks, waiting on the vestibule to be completed. Other than that, I think we're in good shape. We've had some training. Bob and staff and teachers have had some, staff have had some training on the access control system and on the security system. So we're taking care of any issues or questions that they have with the vendor as they move through that. On playgrounds, we were hoping to have those last 2, I think it's a seesaw and something else, repaired at Rockwell this week. But again, the reorder of those replacement parts fell through the cracks when the playground rep we've been working with had COVID along with his whole family, and the pieces didn't get ordered until last week. So again, we're waiting for a delivery on those replacement parts, but they're still scheduled to come out and do that, as well as I guess they're doing some work at Berry School not on this project, but so that's all got to be coordinated. Other than that, the playgrounds are in use, the fencing's finished, the gates are up, kids are using the playgrounds. So all is well there. Any questions about furniture technology or playgrounds? Any other owner vendor work?
And my question was more like, how was the security going? But you answered that.
Yeah, the doors that are not yet secure are just don't have the right hardware on them yet. So so we're working through that. I mean, the building in general, everything is secure and working. The cameras are working, other than some of the connectivity issues that still have to be resolved by the construction team. I think Bob has access to all of the security information on his laptop or his PC. So they are monitoring what's going on inside and outside of the schools. The monitors that were due to be mounted in the admin areas and in the principal's office have been completed. So I don't think that there are any big gaps in security at either school right now.
Good.
I have seen a lot of kids playing on the playgrounds at Rockwell, so It's a good thing.
Yeah, and there's great photos of them too. They're just quite enjoying it, which is good to see.
Yes. Money well spent.
So move on to budget.
Or
Let's see. Johnson. So the overall project tracking budget, based on approvals rendered at the last Public Site and Building Commission meeting, have us at Johnson. We have invoiced and presumably paid on 87% of the project budget at Johnson. And construction is up to 91%. And so that's prior to the requisition to be reviewed tonight. At Johnson, there still remains about 1.757 million in contingency. And this, because we have billed out all of the relocation, the mover expenses, there we have the ability to move this 28,400 back into contingency as well, because that will not be used in that relocation line item. Everything else down here, furniture and other costs, we're still waiting on some invoices to come in. So we'll review that when we get closer to the end. And at Rockwell, similarly, is in terms of the total project, we're billed out to about 95% at Rockwell. Construction is at 92% prior to tonight's requisition. And as we continue to show you, we are negative on the contingency at Rockwell, which means it's coming out of the combined Johnson and Rockwell project budget, but we're negative at Rockwell right now, $398,000.
so that, but then when the state approved this, Office of School Construction approved between Rockwell and Johnson, you moved that, right?
I did it. So these budgets, we're still tracking each individual project against its original budget. When
Okay.
you look at the combined cash flow, that's where we've changed the actual total amount, shifted from one project to the other, keeping the total amount the same. So we'll look at that in a minute. I was just going to say here at Rockwell, we have $12,000 left in the relocation move budget that we could throw back into contingency. It'll be used, by somebody someplace.
And so both of those the relocation moving expenses were originally, the budget was too small, and then we had to do some additional ones, so we had to approve those, but we're still under the amount that we raised it to.
Yeah, so you can see the numbers here at Rockwell, the original budget only allocated $20,000 for moving. Over the course of the project, I think we did this at least twice. We increased the moving line item budget number by, in this case at Rockwell, $58,000, thinking that we would need a total of 78 at Rockwell for all of the move invoices. They only invoiced us 66,000. So technically there's 12,000 in that increased budget line item and the increase came out of contingency. So this leftover amount would go back into contingency.
Okay.
And I'll make that change for the next budget review. So in terms of the two projects together, you will see in the very first line, these are the revised approved budgets for each school now. We did move $936,000 from the Johnson School approval to the Rockwell School as they approved. But again, in terms of where the budgets are really hashing out, the current budget at Rockwell we're still over budget by almost $1 million.
Even with moving,
More than $1 million.
even with moving it from
Even with moving it. So, which is why when we come down to the bottom of this document and look at contingencies, we're showing the actual negative contingency at Rockwell the positive contingency at Johnson. Combined, we have a total project contingency remaining of $1,358,000. And we think, based on these projections that I have listed here in the middle of this form, that we will end up at just under 900,000 under budget for both schools.
So the projections that you have now include very specific things that either need to be done or we've asked to have done. But are there other?
There always are others. Yeah, the items that we've listed here are things that I know of, but there does seem to always come up with additional, additional change orders or additional work that we're finding that needs to be done to close out the project. So, which is one reason why I'm trying to be the most conservative in using the highest numbers that I know of in these areas in order to build to that $900,000 under budget number projection. But it is still a moving target.
And so the line that shows expected PCOs, does that include the electrical feeder stuff?
Yeah, so they're under the section called PCOs submitted. So yes, we are still carrying. I have adjusted.
Got it. Okay.
I adjusted the Johnson School down. We used to carry 99,000 something. Jim indicated that Ferguson's last offer was 78.4. Jim also indicated that he might be able to get that down farther, closer to 70. We're not using that number right now because we know we've got an offer from Ferguson on here for 78.4.
Okay.
So that's where those numbers are coming from.
Got it. Yep, I see them.
The numbers above that are actual PCOs that have been submitted. So we're either looking at them or we're going to review them tonight. And then this lighter gray area here are I'm trying to keep track of some things that I know are still pending out there that have not yet been submitted as an actual PCO, but that we've talked about as a committee. But it does not probably include every single thing that's going to come up between now and the end of the project. So,
Geraldine, on that expected PCOs expected for Rockwell, it looks like it's 27,000. You have 15,000.
You are correct. Somehow my 12,000 for the washers and dryers, I think, didn't roll up. So yep. So my math is bad there. And I will make that adjustment. So yes, we are still low then.
So where does, I see the relocate the dumpsters at Johnson, that pad, and the retaining wall at the slope down to the ball field at Johnson as a possibility in there. But where is the additional, like the dirt pile in the back, big field, all that? Is that anywhere in here, or is that still?
So that's already, that has already been added up here in this area because you approved it, both the field extension and also, for Rockwell, the intersection at Whittlesley, because those items have already been PCOs that have been approved. They're rolled up into this current overall construction budget.
Okay. Just want to make sure things are getting covered, and you don't spell all of them out because you don't have room to spell them all out. Right.
Well, so yes. So one would have to correlate the PCO log total with and then add it to the original construction amount, and then kind of correlate it with this budget amount on this sheet. But as you approve PCOs, we do roll those into a new overall cost of the project.
Okay.
Are this week's Rizzo PCOs included here?
The ones that we're going to consider this week are in this recommended approved line item. So we're going to look at $25,000 worth of work at Rockwell and $7,600 worth of work at Johnson.
They're here.
But the Rizzo applications for payment are not in this.
Well, technically, they are part of the.
They're up at the top, right?
Yeah, they're part of the approved budget.
Yeah, so they're part of the GMP.
This really just indicates changes that will affect the remaining contingency.
So the Rizzo applications for payment were not in the budget tracking budgets that you showed earlier.
Correct.
they're definitely in here because they're part of that.
Right, just like all the other professional services invoices, they're
Right.
being applied against a budget number that's set in that budget. So this isn't about expenditures, this is really about budget, about, total cost of the project.
Okay. Any other questions for Geraldine on this?
Now, to go along with this, based on a request that I think Dino made last week, I wanted to show you in some just very lump sum numbers where we are in terms of reimbursement rate at the state. So this form mimics the format of the submission that we make periodically to the state for reimbursement. They have some very broad line items. Under eligible costs, it's the architect fee, it's all the other professional fees lumped together. There is a line item for eligible construction costs and then for furniture. These numbers have been adjusted for both schools twice over the life of the project. But these are the current approved numbers that the state has seen. So right now at Johnson, we're looking at an eligible part of the project, eligible cost of the project of 37 million and some, and at Rockwell, it's 25 million and some change. The form also has line items for total ineligible costs. So it's really restricted to construction, contingency, and other. And construction is what ends up on the construction cost as ineligible are things that the state starts out saying we won't pay for. So for instance, at Johnson, they don't reimburse at all for the bleachers in the gym. So that number, whatever that $20,000 is in here. As we present change orders to them, there are also ineligible costs in the change orders that they deem to be ineligible. And anybody who wants more detail on that, I can certainly show them that detail from the state, but it ends up being work that either they consider to be rework or something that was 6 months past, extends past the 6-month review deadline that they have. They have some other small sort of, reasons to refuse construction. Where we're standing right now, after submitting 7 change orders to the state, is there is about $160,000 worth of construction at Johnson that they deemed ineligible, and 266 at Rockwell that's deemed ineligible. Under the other category are primarily professional fees and testing and permit fees that they don't consider eligible. The vast majority of items that make up these two numbers are professional fees that were not competitively bid or competitively priced. I think for the most part, the Board of Ed was aware of this when they hired consultants like Malone and McBroom without competitively pricing, like I don't know, there were some geological studies, there were some traffic studies, there were some items there that the state just won't reimburse because you didn't publicly price them. So everything gets lumped into here. The moving costs are lumped into here. The state never reimburses the moving costs. So that's part of this other cost. And then contingency is ineligible until you spend it. So as we draw down on the contingency, this line item is reduced, and that's how we can increase the eligible construction costs. So obviously the state's not going to reimburse you for contingency costs that you don't use.
Right.
As of January 22nd, we've got total costs. These are the two total costs approved, for the two schools, at 45% of the eligible costs. So the total that's in the yellow, 45% of that cost, the reimbursement on Johnson will be 16.7 million. And on Rockwell, we expect to total 11, almost 3.3 million. And if you then kind of back that expected reimbursement up against the total cost of the project, we're essentially at a 42% reimbursement on each one of those schools. We expect to be. At Rockwell, that shouldn't change because we cannot reduce, there's no contingency left. So, we've kind of hit the limit on what the approved construction budget is here. So I don't expect any of these numbers to change. At Johnson, if we continue to increase the eligible construction cost or an eligible cost of anything else, but we're done with furniture, we're pretty much at the limit for our the professional fees. The only thing that I think might increase is the eligible cost of construction. It would necessarily come out of contingency, and it might raise that reimbursement amount up from 42 closer to 45, but at these size of numbers, probably not. It looks like that we will end these projects with a reimbursement of about 42%, which, as Terry explained last week, was about the target. Understanding that when we started the project, everything would not be reimbursable.
So-
Will we be reimbursed for
Eligible-
COVID-related expenses?
Say that again, Dave?
Will we be reimbursed for COVID-related expenses?
Did you mention COVID?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he wants to know if we would
Um,
be reimbursed for COVID-related expenses.
The only COVID-related expenses that we've sent up to the state was the additional cleaning. So we've not ever been presented with additional costs, actual costs of construction that increased. The conversations that we've had with the folks at the state is they consider those, they don't really have a guideline at this point. So they consider them on their merits individually. And I
Okay.
think based on the fact that they're not reimbursing school districts for sort of their ongoing COVID related costs, it's, I'm not sure that we would get, I'm not sure how that would be perceived at the state level, but we haven't really presented anything.
so the most recent Rizzo change order request that we received and reviewed earlier this week, there's never anything specifically indicated. However, they frequently say schedule delays driven by COVID.
Right, and that's, Dave, that's not a change order request. It's actually additional services or extended contract. And that's something that we will discuss a little later.
Okay,
It's not something that's taken into consideration here. And I don't know if it's on your cash flow analysis either, Gerald.
It's not because I haven't updated it.
So that is not specifically a change order. And again, needs to be discussed further. And again, I don't have any idea whether the state would take anything like COVID into consideration, but we would have to check on that. And that would require a whole other set of documentation, et cetera, to be able to do that. But I think, as I said, we should discuss that as under the professional services, additional service requests. So Geraldine, as far as the 900 something thousand that got moved from Johnson to Rockwell as a approval by the state, which makes it reimbursable, is that in this mix too?
It is. I mean, I don't show it, but the total project, it's down here in the total project number.
Cost, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's, if we're kind of sticking with, or we're close to the original target of reimbursement, I think that's pretty good. We do know that there are some change orders that were not done in a timely enough fashion in order to be considered, yet at the same time, we don't know if they would have been considered depending on, it would, as you said, Geraldine, depend on the work specifically. So even if they were done in a timely fashion, they may not have been accepted by the state because of the kind of work that was requested and approved. Is that kind of true?
That's correct. That's correct. In fact, there was, in one case, very early on, if you recall, there was an approval to allow Rizzo their electrical division, Rizzo Electric, I guess, it might have been Nikon, but Rizzo, not Rizzo, not Rizzo as the construction manager, but instead of using Ferguson to do some work, I think having to do with the temporary power or the transformer.
At the
Rockwell.
portables, yes. Yep.
The price from Ferguson was so high that it made sense to use Rizzo as the electrician at a so much lower rate that even though that amount that I don't know, was maybe 50,000 would not be considered reimbursable because of sole sourcing that work instead of giving it to your contract electrician. But I think as I recall, the Ferguson price was like $140,000. So even by accepting the non-reimbursable total for that work, it was still, it was still to the town's advantage. So it's, those kind of things that have contributed to the ineligible costs of construction.
So any more questions or comments for Joe? Or a chart on reimbursements?
Then we will move on
Change
to
orders.
change orders. So at Johnson, now that we have a 4-page change order log, at Johnson, we'll be looking at three proposed change orders tonight. One is for, we're going to relook at PCO 96 had been previously approved. This involved the credits. This is for the platform flooring substitution at Johnson. So we originally had gotten a credit for, well, I'll show you on the change order. So we had previously had an approval on this change order for the $25,000 credit for the installation of the floor. Well, let me go back. I'll just highlight the new stuff. This week, R&B Ceramic offered to purchase back half of the flooring because they had another job that they could use it on. So they offered us an additional $2,800 on the material, the wood flooring material that the town otherwise owns. And so we said, after consultation with Nancy and, I think some other members talked to Bob, Nancy talked to some folks at the town. The decision was made to say, yes, you can resell, you can buy off of us and provide us with an additional credit for the $2,800 for the wood flooring. Now the town still owns the other half of that material. And then we also had added on to that a couple of other additional costs. I think this painting. There was some painting of some new drywall that had to go in, and then we had to move the projection screen in order they had to temporarily move the projection screen that's over the platform in order to lower the wall track. So the previous change order, I think, provided us now I don't even have it, an $8,000 credit. This is essentially the total credit for changing the floor at the platform. So we want to reapprove this change order.
So does that mean it changes the credit from $8,000 to $5,000, or is it 5,000 plus the 8,000?
No. This would be a new change order 96. So let me clarify my thoughts here. So last week, I believe it was at the last meeting. No, it must have been the meeting before. All right. Just so that we all have the correct information.
So while you're looking for that, I will just put in that in talking about owning this flooring and what can we do with it since we're going to own it, Bob Gerbanero was very strident in saying he has nowhere to store it and nowhere to use it right now. So I put the word out to a number of different people at the Municipal Center, Public Works and Park and Rec, et cetera, saying, here's the amount of flooring, here's how much space it's going to take up. Do you have a place to store it? Do you have a place to use it? I did get a reply from Park and Rec saying, we would love a new floor in the stage because it was about the same square footage. And when I did measure the stage the next day, I found out it's not enough. It's about 1,500 square feet was, I think, what I got from Joe Collada. And I think the stage is more like 1,800 square feet. Anyways, wishing and jumping on it is a little bit different. So I did then go and tell Geraldine Collada to go ahead and have the R&B Ceramic sell it and give us the credit. So we still own the other half. And if I also instructed them to check in with R&B and ask if they have another situation that comes up soon in the not too distant future, could they, sell the other half? So they're looking into that.
So I was a little off. The previous PCO that was approved at the December 15th meeting was for a credit of $6,066.50. So with the additional credit for the flooring and then the additional costs that were added on for drywall repair, painting, and the temporary removal of the screen, of the projection screen, it actually reduces the credit by about $700. So the new credit, so this was the old credit that was approved, 6,000. The new credit is 5,418. Let me get back to today's meeting. So the new credit now is $5,418.43. And barring, barring the ability of R&B Ceramic to unload the rest of the material, this would be the final cost of changing the floor.
So then are we going to start doing change order approvals? Is that what we're, because
Yes,
you had the log up there and then, okay.
I did have the log up there. Would you rather look at everything we're going to look at today and then get into the details, or?
No, we can, if everybody's okay, we'll start making motions.
I'll make a motion that we approve that credit. Was it 5,418 or whatever it was?
Yes, 18, yep.
So the proposed update 96 in the amount that Roy said, second it. And we've already discussed it, but is there any more discussion on it? And again, if we can get, the other portion of it sold, that would be great. If anybody has a need, let us know. We'll sell it to you. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Because again, I can't see everyone unless I scroll through. You're going to have to let me know if you're opposed. Motion carries.
All right. We also have at Johnson PCO 103. This is for, let's see if there's a drawing here with this one. This actually occurs at both schools. I know it's sideways, but there are screens planned for around the chiller and the generator, I think, as well.
Mhm.
On the drawings, there was no provision for foundation support for these screens, for these metal screens. And so we needed to add piers, you know, to hold up the fence at both schools. At Johnson, because of the size of the screen here is a little larger. This is 8, I think they're providing 8 12-inch round piers as indicated on the sketch, concrete, earth movers. At Johnson, the addition of the piers is $4,706.44.
Why, so how big are these screens? Because I'm sorry, like I've done generator surrounds with screening and I've never had to dig piers before. I've always just anchored them in with Hilti bolts.
Yeah. Joe, do you have any additional information on the need for this work?
I think the size of the screen was, can you scroll down? I don't recall what the height of it is. It's pretty high. Yeah,
10
I can't
feet
read it.
high?
Right.
Yeah, 10 feet. So 10 feet high and, you know, almost 10-foot wide sections.
So are they sitting on the generator pad or are they outside the generator pad?
They're outside the generator.
So were they drawn to be outside the generator pad?
Actually, at Rockwell, it's just around the chiller. And at
Chiller, okay.
Johnson, it's around the chiller and generator.
Okay.
So this is
So-
Johnson that we're looking at. So this is the
All right.
plan actually here in the corner.
So what, were they drawn to sit on the chiller pad or be outside the chiller pad?
Outside of the pad.
So if they were drawn to sit outside the chiller pad, where were they supposed to sit?
That's what was RFI'd.
Yeah, it was an RFI. It was a miscoordination between us and the civil engineer.
We're not going to call it a mistake, right?
Nope. It's a value add to the project. If it was in the drawings, it would have been a cost to the project.
Let me ask a stupid question. Could we legally put them on the pad instead of putting the piers in? Excuse me.
They looked pretty tight to do that. We did it one time, but where pipes come up at Johnson, you would have to probably jog around it where the chiller pipes come into the chiller. There isn't a pad that goes the whole way either. So you'd run into, it probably would just be a little too tight. I don't know what they need for airflow.
Ken, did they already fabricate the fencing already too?
It is in fabrication.
Okay.
Could we have Joe take a look at that since there was a coordination error to start with and see if it possibly could be installed on the pad, on the existing pad to at least give it a shot?
Yeah, I could take a look at it.
But if they're
Appreciate
in if they're in fabrication, are they going to end up being too large?
Yeah, you would have to probably adjust each of the end panels.
Yeah.
So are we re-examining this?
I don't know. Is it worth it?
Well, you're going to see the same thing at Rockwell. The same type of PCO, a little lesser cost because they only need 6 piers there rather than the 8. So it's a
I'll leave it up to the
Up to you
committee,
all.
but I mean, at this point, I don't know, it seems silly, but then again, if we go back and try and re-engineer this whole thing and have to cut panels, we could end up spending more money.
And time. I mean, and Joe is
Well-
correct in that but this is a piece of construction that was omitted. So, you know, technically or theoretically, the cost of the work would have included this. We would have had a higher cost of the work to include this.
Yep.
What PCO number is this again?
This is 103 for
103.
Johnson.
I make a motion that we accept PCO 103 for the amount of $4,706.44.
Second,
That's Dave Olson. So do we need any more discussion?
Nope, I'm good.
I would, again, I'm dismayed that it wasn't in the drawings, but as Joe said, if it wasn't the drawings, it would have been part of the cost of the project, and we would be paying for it anyways. It's just my comment.
Yeah.
So anything else as far as questions or comments? Can we take a vote? All in favor?
aye.
Is anybody opposed? Motion carries. Playing with play to keep myself calm.
All right, and finally at Johnson, we also have a railing on the exterior at the amphitheater. Again, let me see, is there a drawing on here with this or no?
There it is.
Might be a little difficult to make out, but as you might recall, there are stairs at the amphitheater in the rear that are on the edge of the seating platforms of the amphitheater. And there had been discussion about the ability of people to distinguish where to walk down the stairs. And it's the handrail, there was a handrail on one side, correct, Joe?
Yes.
Against the wall, against the actual wall of the building, there's a handrail.
Is the handrail.
In
So
between the other two, there isn't.
so the
Right.
discussion,
It was, in the drawings, it was a guardrail with a handrail, but it was located directly adjacent to the seats.
yeah,
So
here.
and looking at it again, we moved it over and added an additional handrail so you could access the seats from the steps and have a handrail to go down.
Right, so it defines the stair. If you're just zipping down there to the playground, you go down the stair. This acts as like the aisle to the seating, theater seating,
Correct.
right?
Right,
the
so you only
handrail.
need one on one side of that.
Yep.
So quick question, is this anything like to do with OSHA or anything else, or is it just a nice to have?
The handrail,
Yeah,
it's a I would say it's a code requirement, not OSHA, but
okay.
building code.
So why wasn't this thought of back in the day?
It was shown in the too close to the steps. So when I moved it out, I had to add the handrail. And if the stairs were narrower, we could just get away with the one against the building wall. But
Oh, no, I completely get it, Joe.
I mean, but for erring on the side of safety, we decided that we needed that extra handrail.
And it
I
is
don't
something,
necessarily agree with the cost of it, but
No, I was gonna say the cost is a little bit steep.
will remind people that in one of our walkarounds, we did bring it up as a possible issue
Mhm.
that needed to be looked at, even though it wasn't at the time brought up as a code situation by building department. So that's what sort of generated our starting to look at it. I think it's a good idea to have it in there. Because I think Dr. Carver mentioned that a few times when people, staff, kids, et cetera, have been out in that area prior to anything being looked at, there was some situations where they thought that the seating steps were the steps and they're different.
I'm not arguing that point, Nancy, at all. I'm just arguing,
Yeah.
you know, it's another one of those.
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we approve that change order 106
Second.
for the added railing.
Okay, any other discussion on this or comments?
They weren't willing to come down on the price at all. I mean, it's extremely high for a simple steel handrail.
We went back at them and they would not come down at all.
And is this possibly a QSR thing, like? They're trying to
Possibly
get,
it could be. I think they're tired of us, is what I think it is.
well, and we're tired of them, so,
I know.
but, you know, if, I guess, Ken, if you've had discussions with them and they won't come down, I'm not sure, unless you think we can go at them again.
I don't think we'll get anywhere with them.
And where are we? Is this stuff being fabricated now?
No, they won't proceed until they have a signed change order from them.
Okay, are we ready to vote?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed?
Yeah,
Okay, who's that?
David Horvath.
Dave
David.
Horvath's opposed. Anyone else? So Kathy, you got that? I'm sure she does. She's muted, but. Okay, and do we have another one for Johnson?
That's all we have for Johnson. I did want to bring up
The feeders?
just this change order. I mean, I guess you can act on it or not. I expect you will want to wait for Bob. I don't even think he's seen this, much less, you know, weighed in on it. At the last meeting, there was a request to get a price to add epoxy, use an epoxy flooring at the receiving area to match the kitchen.
Mhm.
So this is what the cost came back as,
Okay,
$13,400. So it was just, it's more informational than anything else.
1,300, is it?
Yeah, I don't have the square footage or anything, but the proposal does say it would be the same product as is used in the kitchen.
seems like a
And
lot
I guess,
because it's a small area.
That's a
I think
huge.
a lot, yeah.
You
And it-
probably self-perform it for 2,000.
I know that we had this discussion before. I think Joe Colada said that in that area, initially, it's just called for painted concrete. Is that true?
Sealed concrete, yes.
Sealed concrete.
Yeah,
470 square feet.
so they do still owe us the ceiling if it's not sealed.
151.
So has the ceiling been done? Do we know, Ken Hunt?
I'm sorry?
The concrete in that area that we were looking at doing epoxy has not been sealed yet, has it?
It has not.
Because if we sealed it, we'd have to rough it up or
You have
strip.
to grind it down, yeah. So
Yeah.
probably hold off on that for now and
Well,
It looks like this PCO includes a
I know, I was
cost to remove it.
They did add on $1,800 to remove the existing. So either the cost goes down to 11,600 to add the epoxy, or,
Mm.
you know,
It's the existing paint that they would have to take up for the adhesion of the epoxy.
oh, the old paint.
okay,
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
all right. And have we had any discussion, Ken Hunt, with them about this price?
I have, and this is his number. He's came out, he's looked at it, and he's comfortable with doing it for this number.
He's comfortable, we're not.
yeah.
What's the square footage on it?
Yeah, is there a breakdown of the square footage?
Yeah,
and cost?
I'm sorry, it's 470 square feet. So So it comes out to $28 a square foot.
I'll come and do it for that.
Yes, Nancy, if I got a paintbrush, I'll join you.
Yeah.
And would there be a credit? There should be a credit along with this for sealing the floor.
Yeah, I've been chasing the painter for that. Yes, yeah, that there is.
Okay, so Geraldine, you were saying we probably ought to get some input from Bob German.
Yeah, I just wanted to present it for information because it was requested, but I think if we can add that breakdown in and create that square footage cost and then add to it a credit for the ceiling that doesn't need to happen. Maybe, and then bring you back a new total.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, I say we talk to Bob because I'm sure his guys have done similar work like this in the past. So let's see what we can come up with first.
And I think that there was still the question of whether the epoxy, in a practical sense, are you getting more value out of the epoxy paint or to just stay with the sealing of the original sealant on the concrete floor? I think it's the real question. And I think that's something that does have to go back to Bob.
It's gonna
think-
last a long time, and it's like a 5-day process to put these down. So it's not just painting the floor.
No, I know it isn't, but
Okay.
wasn't this the same place? I'm trying to remember. Didn't Bob talk about something like VCT in that area?
Well, Rockwell has VCT in the offloading area outside the kitchen.
Okay.
And that's what was called for. That's what was called for outside that area. And I think we had a discussion a couple weeks ago or whatever, where doing the battery is running low. So doing the sealing of the concrete was like the lower as far as durability, and then the VCT was next as far as durability, and the epoxy was the best as far as durability, is what I'm remembering. And Joe Kolata can correct me if I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, agree. Probably epoxy over VCT for durability.
Right, for durability. Yet VCT is a possibility if it's less expensive. If we need to look
Certainly
at
less
that.
expensive.
Yes.
Well, then the question begs to be answered. Why did they spec it at one school and not the other? They spec VCT at one school and they spec epoxy at the other.
And that's a Joe Kolata question.
I am not sure why it was spec'd differently.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Okay, so this we're considering, and we're going to look at that again next time.
Yeah, for information. So, so then at Rockwell, we have four PCOs to consider. 2 of them have to do with requests to improve the intrusion detection system. So that would be at the boiler. So this is at Rockwell at the boiler, the loading dock entrance. There was not originally a keypad for the alarm system specified. And Bob did point out that that is where his staff enter the building first thing in the morning, rather than the front door, which has the other intrusion, the other alarm keypad control. So there was a request to add the keypad at the loading dock door. This originally was a little higher. It is Ferguson, so we have to keep that in mind. The cost was a little higher. D'Agostino, the technology consultants, reviewed it and sent back comments that included, reducing some materials, and Ferguson did adjust the PCO downward slightly. This is, I think, the best we're going to get out of them, $4,343.56. It includes, one part of the lump sum is $1,200, I think, for $1,200 for the actual keypad from Open Systems, from the alarm vendor. And the rest of it is installation and associated cables and conduit for wiring it back to the intrusion panel.
So is this a complete cost, or is there going to be an additional cost from technology
No,
to
this is
tie it in?
No, this is a complete cost. Ferguson will be tying this into the alarm panel.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we approve the, was it PCO, was it
89.
89.
89R, I guess, $4,343.56.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds. Do we have any more discussion on this?
Seems like a big number to run a couple wires.
Yes, it does.
And that's why I'm gonna say no.
So Ken, you said you already talked with them about bringing it down?
Yeah, we talked to them and this was the revised price.
Does it sound high to other people? Because it does sound, so the keypad itself, you said, Geraldine, they showed the amount of that is something like 1,200?
$1,200 just for the keypad piece, the keypad material. Then Ferguson has, $500 worth of other materials and $1,900 worth of labor to install and wire and connect it to the system.
Hang on, 295 feet of 18.4C cable for $1,400, $1,500?
They have to go through
430.
the wood ceiling through the lobby, so it's not really a easy run, but
Yes, the infamous wood ceilings.
So it's a longer run than
Right.
expected.
I
Okay,
mean, if it was before the ceilings, it would probably be a different price.
Yep. And I'm not, and trust me, I'm not trying to be a wise ass right here. I thought the wood ceilings are fairly easy to take down. Am I wrong? I thought everybody's always said that they're fairly simplistic to take down. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and then I'm fine with that. But I just remember those conversations throughout all the walkthroughs.
can you take pieces of them down, or are they can?
Well, in this case, this depends on the direction of how the wood goes. The wood's really narrow. So if you're pulling perpendicular to the run, you'd have to take out quite a few to get across. It just takes a little bit of time to do it, but yeah, it's not that many screws. They do come down, but there's that backer ceiling grid system and that you just have to take out the panels and just a little bit of time.
Thanks, Ken.
I don't know, their numbers are continually double what it should be, as illustrated by Geraldine's point before about the power at the portable classrooms.
I agree with Joe.
So if we were to reject this, would they perhaps reconsider, or have we found that they will
Well, I
just
think this bodes back to the conversation we had at least the last meeting or the meeting before, where all of a sudden there's, oh, look, they have extra money. Let's kind of dig into that. And that's kind of like what I feel like is happening now. I could be completely wrong. That's my personal opinion.
And it's
Well,
Ferguson even.
right, and there's that, but there's also it's Ferguson and how much change order and that we've either rejected or have not even considered, like the feeders, where they're going to quote lose money. So,
Do we have to Ferguson do it?
that's interesting. Well, that's kind of what Dave Horvath, I believe, was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, if we say no to Ferguson, do we bring somebody else in? But that puts us in a position of it possibly not being reimbursable, but if it's that much less, and we lose the reimbursement, is it still a wash?
Right.
Is it a new item?
Was it a new, what do you mean by a new item?
Well, it wasn't in the original contract with them.
Yes, that's correct.
Right. So it is sort of a separate piece of work that potentially even United Alarm could come in and install. It is the question of covering it under the project costs and or the possibility, the probability that it would not qualify for reimbursement.
Right.
So it would need to be, 40% less, I guess, is the point, to make that work for the town, at least 40% less.
Okay.
And I think it's
Does it-
also, it's an easy piece, much like the next one we're gonna look at. They're sort of standalone issues that Ferguson can just say, well, then we won't do it. Because it's not about occupancy, it's not really about occupancy. It's not about finishing their base building work and getting the CO on the project. This is an owner request to add another control piece. So I don't know that they have any incentive to really work with us on this either.
I mean, I don't know if you have much choice. If we want to get it done with the project, I hear you, Dave, and, I hate paying 40% more. But, we gotta get this resolved and keep moving the project along and,
But at the same time, is it worth having somebody check into it? So you said United Alarm, but who else might be able to come out? And if there's another similar one, who else would come out? Would it be ESC or any of the security people because it's part of the security? Or does it have to be coordinated through the electrical?
So I guess it's not that it has to be coordinated through the electrical.
Does it stay alone? But
Um,
having someone come into the job who's not familiar with the job might take a little longer to get the work done.
So you're
So
right
it's-
where we are.
Yeah,
It's kind of like a rock and a hard place sort of situation. And like Geraldine said, if it's not part of the base contract or any part of the base sort of drawings, specifications, et cetera, Ferguson in a way has no incentive to want to do the work unless they get a good chunk of money for it, which is why they probably put the highest price on it.
right.
I mean, what are our other options? What can we, they haven't done the work yet because they're not going to do it until we approve it. I'm assuming.
I just wish Bob was on this call right
Right.
now. But that was
Yeah.
input.
I mean, I'm thinking United Alarm, Geraldine's saying, that would be the next viable choice, I think.
What would they do to the electrical part of it?
Sure they could.
You're really just running a cable, however many feet, 295 feet from one end to the other and splicing it and making your connections. Then you got to do programming. So I don't know what part of the programming it is, but I can't imagine it's that hard.
And have we had United Alarm come in and do some other stuff that needed to be done?
not since we've had so United Alarm is going to continue to monitor the system. So they're going to have a contract, right, with the town. So they have not done installation work on the new project, obviously, but they're the only ones that I know that are sort of available. They're available to the town. They have a contract with the town. They're vaguely familiar with the schools, even though they were not the vendor on installing the alarm systems. So,
Is it worth having them look into and giving us a price?
sure, I can find out if this is even something that they want to touch and get a price from them. I'll work with Bob on getting in touch with them on this piece.
Okay.
And
All right.
we'll at
So
least have something
did
to compare.
okay. So did somebody make a motion? I'm not remembering.
I did.
And did somebody second it? I think Dave seconded it. I don't know where if
I
Kathy's.
did.
keeping us on track here. So either Roy, you need to rescind your motion, or we need to,
I'll rescind my motion.
okay,
All right, we'll hold that until we get alternative pricing.
Yep.
Now similarly, also at Rockwell, similar price, also Ferguson, there was a request to add a door contact, an alarm at the boiler room exterior door, which we did not have under the original scope. So it's somewhat similar. There was they've got to wire this back to the panel from the boiler room. There was, D'Agostino reviewed it and sent back comments. There were some items that were reduced. Let me see what it says here. Actually, the other one did just, oh, here we go. Supersedes, they eliminated a sleeve and some coring. And again, they've got $286 worth of materials, $550 for the contact from Open Systems, $550 for a door contact.
I remember Bob talking about that, saying that was like crazy.
And so is their labor here. So now there's even more labor on this one. There's a total of 25 hours to install a door contact and tie it back to the panel. So again, you have a very high cost of adding a door contact, $4,560.40. I'm going to assume that you would also like to explore an alternative arrangement for this scope of work, because
yes,
again, it's something that perhaps the alarm vendor, the monitoring vendor can
Yes,
provide
please.
to us, and maybe
Yes.
both together they can provide a good price for the two of them together. So
I think Ferguson's going rate is 4,000 plus.
yeah, much like their outlets. Anytime they have to do an outlet, it's just $1,500, no questions asked.
Well, he was 2,000, so at least, we know he's going up.
Yeah.
Next month will be 6.
All right, so I will withdraw that one as well and look at alternative pricing for both of those. So also, excuse me, also at Rockwell, we have a similar issue with, as I said, with foundation piers at the screen for the chiller. Here we only have to add 6 piers, so the price is, comparatively, you can compare it to the Johnson one. This one's only $3,721.30.
Only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a motion that we approve that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
That's John Menti.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other discussion or questions on this? Again, I would express my dismay, not included yet,
Yeah, put mine in with yours, Nancy, please.
but we also have the excuses, et cetera. So, all right, so let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Is that Dave
Yeah, that's me.
Horvath?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Dave Horvath is opposed, but still the motion is, anything else?
And the final, well, yes, there's one more big one here. The final
So-
change order is at Rockwell for the supplemental steel in the 2 kindergarten rooms. So this is the steel columns by Marcelli Steel. This is the removal and then the replacement of the ceiling around the new columns. It is the repairs to the concrete floor and also at the second floor. That's the flooring, I'm sorry, repairs to the flooring at the first and the second floor, and some painting. And it totals $12,399.52.
For discussion purposes, I'd like to make a motion. We accept this.
I'll second it.
So this work was already performed, correct?
That's correct. This was done late October, actually.
And that was the two downstairs kindergarten rooms towards the playground end of the building.
Correct. Where the removal and, well, where work on concrete block walls revealed deflection in the steel that needed to be supported by new steel columns. And the work in those rooms was completed at the time. So this was about taking things apart, putting them back together. I will say that you had already approved a change order for the actual demolition. And the temporary shoring that had to happen while we were having the steel fabricated. So this is the remainder of the cost. This is the actual steel and then all of the finish work that was required.
I mean, at this point, we really have no choice. We have to approve this.
Geraldine, what is the work done at the second floor classrooms?
I don't know, you have to,
That was the, when it was first discovered, the base was separated from the flooring. So there was a sag in each classroom. So the tile has to get removed and leveled out and new base and tile put in to make that back to the way it was.
Okay.
I think those of us who did, not just this last time, but another time before that, did a walk around, saw that it's been completed.
I'm sorry, I have to leave the meeting for a few minutes. I have something in emergency at work. I'll be back.
Okay.
yeah, so it does say, it says that this part of the PCI removed the base and the first row of VCT along the inside wall and then reinstall it because of this sag.
And again, we did see this in place, completed, except for, I think it's still, weren't they painted or something? They weren't.
They had not yet painted the actual the steel columns.
And it's weird that they're in the middle of, but it's weird that they're kind of where they are, but at the same time, it was necessary. And I got to say, the teachers are making the best of all the things that we've had to put in and kind of are in the way, and they decorate them or whatever. So
Yeah, clearly a hidden condition that had to be addressed, so.
correct.
And I will also say that as you recall, we used a Marcelli steel instead of QSR because of the difficulty in getting QSR to provide a reasonable price and do the work. So I think that this is the better price.
So we do have a motion, right? John made a motion and somebody seconded.
I second it.
Okay. Any more discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Motion carries.
So that is it for change orders.
Gerald, you did provide documentation on the Ferguson feeder fiasco. So are we going to discuss that at all tonight, or would you just look at it? You sent
I don't know if Jim is on the call and can speak to this issue. Haven't heard his voice yet.
Yeah, I'm sorry, John. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Where would you like us to take this feeder issue?
Sure. So after our last meeting, I did get some information over to Joan to kind of bring her up to speed as to how we got to where we did. And again, what we were asked to do is let's see if there's a number or where Ferguson thinks they're at as far as trying to settle this, with the starting point for the town being 0. So I think that, based on what we've gone through with them, we've got them down to, we're within, $5,000-$10,000 of that's it. It's not going to go any further because to them it's not worth it. They'll pursue legal action, whatever it is, the threats they're making that they're going to do. So They came back with their offer of the 78.4. After the last meeting, all I did was let them know that, that the town was thinking about it, that no commitment. They were going to go, some of the members were going to take a walk, take a look at it. So I really haven't, gone back to them to push them. I want to save that for if there's a decision to be made or a push to be made. I just want to do it once because that'll be the final discussion that we have on it.
Hey, Jim, what do you think? Where is a reasonable number? As far as to get this settled.
It's hard to, and I laughed, but I watched Ferguson's $4,000 outlet numbers. Reasonable and Ferguson are not necessarily, something you're going to have in the same conversation. So
Right.
where do I think you could get them down to? I think you're down to low 70s, maybe 69,000. You throw it out there, and it is what it is. And then it's a business decision. And not that you guys,
Right.
but it's a business decision. What is it going to cost to defend this? What is it going to cost them to defend this? So I think that's where this is headed. But
Yeah, I was actually thinking of the 70,000 number, but if you think we should start slightly lower, I'd make a recommendation along those lines.
because I think they're going to come back, and say some other number, whatever it is. I don't know, 75,
Right.
something like that, and that gives a little bit of room to do something with.
So Geraldine, you just had something up there that was from Rizzo Electric. And was that
Yes, so I had a bunch of things up here. Just to run through them. Their original request for additional money to run the feeders at Johnson was $222,306.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Then their next revised proposal was 125,546. So this was after Rizzo went back and reviewed, the earlier 222 for quantities and lengths and what was reasonable. Then Rizzo did a cost takeoff more recently and got it into the $93,000 range. What we have from Ferguson is it's probably their latest official is 119.5.
That's correct, Joe. That's their latest one. And anything that I have now hasn't been in writing.
Right, so that's their latest on paper offer.
And they're careful,
And
they're experienced.
and then of course there was also ticket, actual tabulation of tickets, and then a drawing that indicated where they actually ran the pipes. So verbally we understand that Ferguson has made an offer at 78.4, correct?
Yes.
Or was that your, yes, okay.
Hey, Jim, I find it funny that you said they are experienced, because if they were experienced, they would have known from the documents that they could not have run it down the corridor.
See, Joe, you don't have a cynical enough mind. I was saying experience from a legal standpoint.
Oh, yes, I realized that's what you actually meant, but I just want to make sure the building committee knows that the Perkins Eastman and DTC do not agree with their assertion that they are owed any money for this work.
Right.
I have to say, I have to agree with Joe 100%. These plans were very specific from the very beginning. They had the opportunity to walk through this building, look at everything, and all of a sudden they went from up to $222,000 to do something they should have done, and now they're down to 78,000.
Well, to be fair, some of that is we came up with a different solution in the corridor to run MC cable, reduce the number of conduits that we were talking about. So some of that jump is related to that. But again, I'm not defending Ferguson.
Yeah, Jim, that was a good solution to solve part of this problem, because they could have run these cables or the feeders anywhere they wanted, but they made assumptions and chose to rack them all together, double rack. You know, there was other paths that they could have taken.
Yeah, you know, again, Joe, you know, we've been through this for a while, so.
Yes, a year and a
I'm
half.
not gonna argue with you. I respect your opinion, but this is what was asked of us. This is what we did. This is
No,
what-
I'm not faulting you on what you were asked. Just wanted to refresh the conversation as to how we got to where we got to. And this is not the first thing, well, this is the first thing that they started with that was an inaccurate assumption and an inaccurate interpretation of the documents. As
So
we-
can we get the numbers all put together on a nice, neat little list so they're easy to see? And, you know, where they were, where they are, where we think we can be, so that we can see
I
all the
can do that.
numbers.
I think, Geraldine, if I put numbers to that summary I sent you, that may spell out how we got to where we did. I can throw some numbers to
I
that.
mean, this, put some numbers, just add, well, you do have some numbers around here. So this
Yeah,
was,
but if you put them in a tabular form, they're much easier to read than, you know, trying to go down line by line and comparing the numbers.
We can do that.
So with this situation though, the work's been done. They're saying in some way or form that this is how much it costs to do the work. And if we do not accept this proposed change order, is Rizzo still in a place where they've got it wouldn't come out of our contingency, it would come out of theirs and it would still be paid? Or would it then go to some sort of legal claim arbitration thing?
Excuse me, Nancy, I'm very sorry. I have to drop off. I have an emergency at work I have to take care of. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. So basically what I was saying is, are we in a situation now where work's been done, they're saying this is how much it costs or it's going to cost or whatever, and as a potential change order, we as the building commission have the ability to accept or reject. If we were to accept it and Ferguson still need to be paid, that would have to not come out of our contingency, but come out of Rizzo's contingency. But my understanding is they don't know they left in Rizzo's contingency.
Having a little trouble hearing you there, Nancy. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, and you broke up a little bit too. I know my fan is running and I'm trying to get it to shut off. So are we in a situation now with this proposed change order, if we, the building commission, chose to reject it? Does that put you, Rizzo, in a position of you're going to have to pay it, or we're going to have to go to some kind of legal arbitration, something?
If you guys reject it, you know, we're certainly not going to absorb it in our contingency because we don't feel we should be. At the end of the day, Ferguson's made it clear, you know, throughout the process that this, you know, these discussions that we've been having are their attempt to avoid legal action. So that would be my, and again, you know, that's the experience part, Joe. That would be my sense is that's what they would do. You know.
So, okay, so we're going to look at this again at our next meeting. Jim is going to put together something more spreadsheety looking with the figures.
Sure, that's no problem.
We're going to look at it that way. Do we also want to throw a number from us to Ferguson? And what, if we did that, how does that affect us if we say, oh, we'll go with 69.5?
I would be careful with that. I have not offered or acknowledged or done anything with that. So it really, if you do go to that point, you're at least acknowledging that you're going to pay something. So, you know, if you guys are still thinking about this, you know, I can explain to Ferguson that it's still being reviewed, but it's alive and they're looking at their offer. But if you're, you know, looking to see where they're at or where their bottom is, and we're going to throw an offer out, then you're, you know, if they say yes, then you're obligated to them to close it out with them. So I would just want to make sure that everybody understands that.
Okay, that's basically what my question was.
But Nancy, it might also be the approach that, you know, maybe it's 40,000 or 50,000 because that's what we think we're gonna spend legal on the thing anyways, and start at that point too, you know. And then we're not acknowledging anything to the fact that we think the, you know, work was worth it.
So their offer right now is 78.4.
Yes.
I gotta think we're gonna spend, you know, 30 to 40,000 probably legal just getting into it. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not too sure, you know, what the attorneys are gonna charge.
Right. And I could ask that question. I haven't asked that specific question of town
I mean,
attorney.
I'd prefer to get it settled and move the project along, but, you know.
Well, I agree.
But they've already get it settled how?
With the, you know, decide on an amount and see if we could get it settled, but, you know, based upon where Jim is now, maybe that settlement number is maybe only 65,000 or 75,000, somewhere in that area. So, you know, maybe it's too high for what the town is thinking, and maybe we should think about it as far as what the legal expenses are gonna be and say, well, maybe we're gonna be 30 or 40,000 and we'll offer them that, because that's what we think the legal is worth. I could take either approach.
So, and as far as looking at moving the project along, the work's already done. So it's not slowing anything down from that
Exactly.
viewpoint. It's just something that's been open for a long period of time. It's obviously not going to be reimbursable because
Yeah.
A, what it is, and B, it's been a long time. So I could check into, you know, what we think it might be as far as some kind of legal claim.
Yeah,
And
if you want to talk to, you know, Matt or Marty and say, look, you know, it's 75,000 or 78,000
right,
for a fight, you know? What do you think it's going to cost us to fight? Marty will give you a number, I would think.
I don't
Yeah.
have to tell you guys that if that goes, that they'll go for the full boat, whatever that number is that they make up.
Right.
No,
Yeah,
it
then
won't
they're
be
back
the
at the 225 or whatever it was.
Right, exactly.
yeah, yep, right. And does anybody know, I mean, everybody always says, oh, Ferguson change orders you to death. Anyone know, have they actually gone the legal route, and have they been successful with it? Or, you know, it's like something they always do. Do they have like an attorney in their pocket that then jumps in and says, I'll take that one on, I'll get this much money for you?
I think they seem to be pros at this, Nancy, so I'm sure they're very well equipped to handle this.
Okay.
And
Well,
this
so
is
I'll,
standard procedure. I've heard about this for years with these guys.
Yes.
yeah,
So, you know, I gotta think that, you know, they're pros at it.
Anyone think they're losing money at 78.4?
What's that, Dave?
Anyone think they're losing money at
No.
their settlement number?
No,
So what they did was they tried to really do a bad number on us at 225. Right?
they're getting their money $1,000 at a time every time we ask them to put in a plug.
Yeah.
Don't ask them anymore.
all right, so I'm going to check with Matt and Marty, correct? And I will make it clear that they need to get back to me ASAP, so that we can discuss this at our next meeting. And Jim's gonna put a little spreadsheety thing together for easier review, and Jim or Ken are not gonna contact Ferguson with some kind of alternative offer right now.
No, just tell them that we're still looking at it.
We're
Yeah.
still considering it.
I will reach out to them, Nancy, but all I'll divulge to them is that it's still under review.
Okay, that sounds good.
Is there is there a way to pay a different contractor to look at the work and tell us what they think it would have cost for them to do it?
Well, Rizzo already did that,
Okay, and what's their number?
93. Anything else?
Move on.
All right, so Geraldine, is there one of these for Rockwell?
The same principle.
Yes, the way low price, but
No, there is a submitted PCO for feeder work. It is only in the amount of 19 something, but there has not been a similar reduction in that one or any sort of analysis of those costs. We're concentrating on the larger one at Johnson.
yet we're in the same kind of situation at Rockwell where we think they should have been.
Yeah, 19.9. It is the same situation in that they made assumptions during bidding and then during coordination found that they could not run their conduit in the place that they thought when they said they, or, you know, the quantities that they said they bid on. And are, you know, sticking us with the additional cost. It's the same argument that Joe gave earlier. How they ran their lines, it was not, yes, it was not shown on the drawings. It was not going to be shown on the drawings. It was part of coordinated work. They needed to have set their bid amount at a number that would take into consideration some contingency. So
Yep.
they didn't, so. But apparently their hit was less there, you know?
Yep.
We're gonna go through this. Should we just put them together instead of having to go through it twice?
Well, my thought would be when you do get down to your settlement number at Johnson, if it's got to move a little bit, you're throwing in then what happened at Rockwell.
Right,
You know,
the
to
amount
wrap-
at
to wrap it
Rockwell,
all- Yeah,
right,
so if
and the
there's
amount, go ahead, Jim.
So if there's any, you know, we shoot a number and they come back, we'll talk about that, but you know, this has to include everything, that type of a discussion.
All right.
And we also have a situation where at Rockwell, the distance that they had to go was much less. So at Johnson, we were looking at them having to feed the addition and not just the existing building. And to get the feed from the way far side of Johnson to the addition was the big part. And had they really paid attention and started looking at it, they blame it on not enough coordination or whatever. They didn't look at it well enough to see that they could have buried a whole bunch of stuff during excavation and foundation, et cetera. But by the time they got to it, they couldn't because the foundations were in the way, other concrete was in the way, et cetera.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of time has passed. All I'll say to this is it's been worthwhile trying to resolve this because it's not a slam dunk. It's not, you know, cut and dry, open, shut. But again, all I can do is get them to a point and, you know, it's a business decision for you guys. Roy summed it up perfectly. If
Yep.
you're going to spend $40,000-$50,000 in legal fees, that's your decision.
Yeah, if we spend $50,000 in legal fees, but they'll accept a, I don't know, $69,000 payment, then that's a decision that we would have to make, and it's not the kinds of decisions we're used to making as a building committee.
Sure.
So I'll do some checking with Marty, and we'll go from there.
Yep.
Who am I squishing here? So is that all the, are we don't need to look at the logs, right? Because we just did the change orders.
Yeah, I mean, you can see where you can look at the logs at your leisure and see how, you know,
Yeah.
how it all totals up and yeah.
We have a few more pending, et cetera. So that puts us to the Rockwell boiler room. That's next on the agenda. John Menti, do you have anything?
My understanding, the holdup, Matt and Marty had some questions about some of who was responsible to determine if proper testing was done or why wasn't it done, which I tried to explain to him, at this point in time, we can't think about that right now. We have to move along in getting this wrap put to bed, because if we don't do anything, we can be held liable by the feds in the state. Circling back, if they want to seek any other cost injunctions against whoever, that's something down the road, which basically for $80,000 or $90,000, and talking to Marty just today, it's not worth it. And they feel that the money to do the scarification of the floor and sealing it, which is about 80 or 90, I can't remember the top of my head. It's just take it out of the project's money this coming summer and get it done and be away with it. So that letter, that agreement letter, Matt is going to sign and send it over to Weston and Sampson this week, I believe.
Right. So there was an email today to you and me, John, and Matt, and I'm not sure if Geraldine was on it or not. But it basically says that Matt is ready to sign off on the above project, provided the funds are taken out of the project money. And like I said, I can't remember I thought it was somewhere between 70 and 80,000.
Yeah, it's in that range. I don't have it in front of me right now.
Right. And he needed some additional information. So, and we had a discussion on this. I don't remember what we came up with, but the RAP references the file location. So didn't we have to come up with a file location while we were discussing?
Yeah, that would be, I would say, the Board of Ed office. It's their building.
So first of all of the reports and all that information is electronic.
Right.
So it just, and it all actually resides on this shared drive. So if all of those documents were just downloaded, I think at the Board of Ed to some file where somebody knows where it is, then that would satisfy that requirement, I think.
Bob Geminero keeps a pretty accurate set of files on any testing and abatement work on the school system since he's been there. So again, we'll probably just go into that file. And just as long as we have a place where we can call a file location, which would be the Board of Ed office, that would make sense. They control the buildings.
Right, because it says, however, the documents, this is from Marty, documents from Weston and Sampson have several exhibits that do not contain any information, and the town certification that was attached states all sampling plans, sample collection procedures, et cetera, are at the file location, and the file location is like a blank place. So we have to insert what the file location is.
Right, and that's where that's where Weston Sampson, they're not telling us where we should file it. That's up to us where we're going to file it.
Right, but that has to be filled in on that document before Matt will sign it.
Okay.
And then we also need to have the rest of Weston and Sampson's document completed, needing the exhibits and who has what, where are the items set forth, et cetera. So Matt can complete the form. So we're going to have to be in touch with him, with Marty about that, because I think it might be stuff that Marty or someone has to insert into that document, or Weston and Sampson may have to insert it into the document so that we have.
What I'm going to do is I'll get a hold of Marty tomorrow, or not tomorrow, definitely the next day, and give him Malcolm's contact information. Maybe he can call him direct instead of being in the middle, going back and forth. It might be so much easier doing it that way. Or Malcolm can call Marty,
But Malcolm needs to know where the file location is.
Right.
That needs to be determined first.
Yeah, that's the file location is going to be at the Board of Ed office.
Yes, I think it kind of, but it also needs to be specified where, so that the EPA, if they want to, which they never do, but they will, they might, can access it easily.
Right. Board of Ed office.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it needs to be a little more specific than that.
The
Somebody,
Town of Bethel Board of Education office at School Street. I mean,
think-
that's where the documents are kept.
and I think you need a contact person too.
Is it call for that?
I think it would make it easier and make,
Okay.
and that could be something, John, you could check in with Malcolm about. How specific does it need to be so that the EPA isn't like seeing red flags? If we say Board of Ed office, 1 School Street, is that sufficient? Or do they need some kind of electronic place to go and click on files and look themselves without having to call the Board of Ed and say, please send us these files? So maybe that would be worth checking into. Okay,
Yeah, you can look into it, but from all the work we've ever done in the past, we just tell them where it's going to be and that's all there is to it.
okay, if that's been your experience, then that's good to know. I've never done it, so I just want to make sure that putting insufficient information in doesn't set up flags for the EPA.
Nah.
Okay. All right, so then we need to just make sure that if we say Board of Ed office, 1 School Street, and a phone number, that I think Marty also referenced some exhibits. If it's exhibits, then those are also at the Board of Ed office, 1 School Street, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Unless the exhibits need to be attached, and I don't think they do. And just to add into this, I had email back and forth, and John's had conversations with Matt and Marty called me at one point too, where I think they wanted to try to pin it on Malone and McBroom or something, that not enough testing was done. And I did explain, as I was remembering back in the beginning, we hadn't specifically had testing set up at the beginning of the job. Yet we were kind of pushed a little bit by Rizzo and some others to start to do the testing. And it was done during that summer before the project actually got underway, because we knew that when we put bid documents out, if all this wasn't called out in the bid documents, either we'd have huge contingencies for each of the different contractors, or they wouldn't have put bids in at all. And we had to walk that fine line between doing testing and finding out as much information as we could with asbestos-lead PCBs, and finding out that there were PCBs to the point of, I think it was John Perna who cautioned us about if we do testing and find certain things in certain places, have him being in the position where he had to have schools closed down when they were found when that was found out. So I think we were selective in the testing to make sure we didn't get into that kind of situation, but we also in the testing found out that we weren't in that situation. So it is part of the project. I think it should come out of the project funds to do the work, although it won't be done till summertime. And we have to make sure we put some money aside for that somehow. Keep track of that. All right, so John has a little checking to do on that, and we'll keep moving forward with it.
Yep, I'll talk to Marty.
Okay, thank you. And our next agenda item is the professional services, additional services requests. So with this, we have a couple of things that we need to be considering. We did approve the extended contract services for Perkins Eastman at our last meeting. I've given those documents to Matt for his signature and have had not heard anything. I don't know whether he was more concentrating on the boiler room RAP, because that's what I was mostly back and forth with him about in the past week and a half. So there's some, well, not some, basically as we just discussed with the Ferguson situation, several people wanting to check with Marty further, which I've started on the whole process of how we go about doing this and making sure we're doing it in the best sort of legal way, so we don't go ahead and start making decisions or approvals that then we have to go back and redo. So that's where we are right now with, I will continue to check with them. I'm going to see if I can get some more specific information on how we can go about doing this and getting it taken care of. That includes, well, the already approved Perkins Eastman one, but then the initial Perkins Eastman request, and then STV. I had asked Geraldine a few questions, but I'll just share them here to make sure you know. If you've looked through the proposals, there was some wording that needed to be changed just because of the way, probably some creating the documents, et cetera, like the Johnson one says Rockwell in it in a place or two. So that's got to get corrected, which it will. I had asked whether my fan's going to come on again because I got to plug the thing back in. I had asked about, because Perkins Eastman was specifically an amount not to exceed. And in some ways, STV one is too, because they're going to bill monthly on the time that they spend. So while it doesn't say not to exceed, because it does say that they'll bill monthly on time, it's kind of the same thing, only stated differently, if I'm saying that correctly. And trying to think of, I have notes. There were a couple other things I had questions on. Oh, the date, which we got that all. And so in invoicing monthly, so it'll be for the previous month, obviously. And it'll be done separately from, like Perkins Eastman is doing now, separately from your original contract, or will it change the contract amount and it'll just be 1 month request?
Internally, we would typically change the total contract amount and continue in the same series of invoices. But if that's not, if we need to separate it out, I know I can do that too. It's sort of whatever works for you accounting wise.
Right, and I'm not sure what they'll want if we have, so do you still have some left in your contract for some parts like closeout and state paperwork and stuff like that? Is that true?
No, we actually don't. So those hours that would have been, assessed against a closeout phase were used up in the overage of the construction phase. So, and if you recall, or if you notice, we haven't presented an invoice in a couple of months. And that's why, because we've hit our fee. We've hit our previously, contracted fee. So what this additional service, what this extended services, I guess, request for the extended construction period is all addition.
Right, and so, and that's spelled out actually in the different sort of phases that you put in your proposal?
Right.
Yeah, okay, because that was something I was rereading and seeing that, okay, here's all the different phases, and some of it included what is originally included in your contract.
Right, some of it looked back and some of it looked forward, but if we needed to treat for some accounting reason as a separate project, I guess, within the project, we can do that. But typically we would just consider it an additional services, increase the total contract cost on that invoice, and then just keep running it,
Yeah, I'm not sure if accounting, I'd have to check on that part, so.
Yeah, whatever works for them.
Notes.
Carolyn, would the
Yeah.
state care? Would the state care if there was a difference in the accounting approach?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
They look at a line, as I showed on that reimbursement request, format, they're looking at whatever the total project cost is for the architect or for all the professional fees. They don't really see the breakdown. I mean, they look at it at audit, or they may look at it at audit. It sort of depends on, what they feel is in line with the project.
So in looking at reimbursement, because this is on the more soft cost side, those numbers can change without the state being all, whoa, what's this? Or,
We're only required to present periodic change orders for increases in construction cost.
okay,
So the state, in my experience, is not looking that deeply at all the other costs. They want to understand that the majority of the project cost, which is construction, is being spent according to their guidelines. I can't imagine, I have never heard of it, of them coming back in, at audit at the end of the project and saying, oh, this fee is not allowed or that fee is not allowed. Excuse me, I know they have some guidelines as to percentages that are acceptable against construction cost, but I don't think there's anything strictly addressed in this area.
so would that considered a change order? Because it would obviously come out of contingency to pay for it.
It would, the increase in in our fee or in the architect's fee would show up as an increase in a line item on the forms that we're required to file, but they don't require any specific backup to justify the change order for professional fees, I guess is how I'll say it.
Okay. So if they're seeing that money's come out of the contingency, they're not bringing reasons why the money's coming out of contingency.
No, and we would consider increases in any professional fee to be a reimbursable expense. So it would, yes, come out of contingency, go into an eligible line item, excuse me, and that would be it.
Okay. All right, so like I said, I have more checking I have to do. Well, we have to do with Marty and then also the account. But I think the accounting part would be okay if the state isn't going to require that separate accounting. So, okay.
And it's also probably easier on the town side to just, show it as an increase in contract cost, whether it's our contract or the architect, and just continue that same sort of terms and conditions of the contract instead of reinventing it.
But it would be different. Would it be different on for anything for Rizzo, because that would require a change in the GMP?
So are you asking about the town side or the state?
The state.
So the state does not consider increases in the construction line item for these type of contractor costs, for general conditions or for fee. They don't even look at that until the end of the project. So all the change orders that we submit are only documenting the trade change order costs. They just wait until that's all settled out, and then we're able to change the contractor, the fee and the general conditions contractor costs. So so I don't even know how it's considered, if it's considered a change, because they haven't seen anything, they haven't seen an original cost yet.
Right. Okay.
Well,
Mhm.
because they reconcile that at the end. So.
Okay. So in looking at these, does anybody have, since we were initially talking about, I had started asking Geraldine questions about the STB proposals. Does anybody have any specific questions for Geraldine or for Scott, if he's still on here, about the STB proposals?
No.
Oh.
And does anybody have any specific questions on Perkins Eastman?
Nope.
So, and that leaves us with Rizzo. And I would either, Geraldine, if you can put it up, or I'll put it up if Kathy makes me co-host. One or the other, doesn't matter which one.
The Rizzo.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Not sure which one this is.
There's,
So Johnson, yes.
yeah, okay. So I have some comments on this after reviewing it a few times. And I feel like, and I don't just feel like, I know that as a commission, we can't really make a decision on this without a whole lot more information. I will make a general comment that in reading just the words without the spreadsheety parts, etc., that I feel like that the bulk of what Rizzo has put in here is basically putting sort of the blame on COVID. Number one, not necessarily in this order, but number two, lack of enough coordination at the beginning of the project with design team and with change orders that we as a town put in there. And I would have to say that starting with the change orders, all of them have an associated fee, construction manager fee, as a percentage of the change order. So those have been, those that have been approved have an associated construction manager fee attached to them. I would say in general, COVID served to help Rizzo, or should have at least, in catching up on the project. At the time when the schools were shut down, when the state was shut down, Rizzo was already at least 3 months or more behind on the project. I'm sure we can look at each individual little piece that created that, yet there it is. We did receive Rizzo's notice back in March of possible delays due to COVID. I'm sure, and there have been times when it's been brought to our attention that some of the contractors were unable to bring a full workforce onto the job because some had COVID, some had to stay away, the whole group had to shut down, etc. So if those are actually items that we can get proof of, I think we're going to need a whole lot more information before we start taking this into consideration. Much more than what you've got there. And I don't know if anyone else has any other questions or input on that.
I think, Nancy, this is something that maybe that subcommittee who's been looking over these things could even, you know, I hate to put more work burden them, but maybe this is something they can take an in-depth look at and maybe come up with some questions also to bring back to the committee and bring back to Rizzo. We
did start a bit, and we didn't have enough time to finish. So yes, we are obviously going to continue to consider, and we can come up with a more complete list. I mean, there's obviously still things that we're working on resolving that are part of, well, at least Johnson, I can think of, you know, the slope at the ball field, the dumpster pads, etc. And all of those would be part of change orders that, when approved, would have fees attached to them. And definitely an assumption that would extend the construction time, that it wouldn't have been expected to be completed by December 1st or December 5th, whichever the date was, because there are things that are still being worked on. So that we understand. That's just one example. There are a few other things, bus loop at Rockwell, et cetera. But then again, as I said, it's my feeling that I think we need to look at if COVID is something that created labor shortages or delivery delays, et cetera, we need to have that spelled out. So the subcommittee will again meet very soon to continue to work on this, and again, continuing to be in contact with Lawler, going about this in a way that is done so that not only is it acceptable to everyone, but we don't have to redo it because we didn't do it through the proper channels. We could go ahead and approve or disapprove something now, and if we didn't do it properly, we'd have to go review it again.
Agreed.
So does anybody have any questions? And I don't know if either Joe Collada or Geraldine Scott or Rizzo have any questions for us or Joe's in the gym and it looks really good.
And I'm all set for now, Nancy.
Okay.
Yep, we're also,
Okay, so we'll continue to work on that. And again, trying to get it as resolved as quickly as possible. And then invoices, which are mostly Perkins Eastman and the Rizzo applications. So question, Ken Hunt, before we jump into this. Did you bring the actual signed applications to the municipal center yet, or do we still have to get those from you?
No, I have to bring those tomorrow. I'll bring those tomorrow morning.
Okay, that would be great. I will make arrangements to, if you let me know, then I'll make arrangements to be there or go there at some point so I can sign them, because I have to do that before, and Kathy's obviously got to finish the minutes before they go up to finance.
Okay, yeah, I'll do it first thing tomorrow. I don't know what time they open. 8:30.
Wednesday, 8 o'clock.
Okay,
So if you could either, when you get into the entry area, I will not be. So either get up to the first selectman's office or to Kathy, whichever works out.
okay, yeah.
Okay. All right, so what we have up here is, and these are all, that doesn't have a signature. Ken has a signed one, so Joe signed them and they've all been checked and readjusted as far as percentages and numbers, et cetera.
they have been, yes.
Okay, so I will make a motion to approve application for payment for Rizzo for Johnson for a period ending end of December 2020. This is application number 22 in of $318,502.47.
Second.
Second.
Seconds, any questions? All the documentation is attached. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Well, hang on a second. I have to check something. Dino, Menti, Roy, Gil, me. Okay, we still have a quorum. Dave left, so Kathy's got that documented, but we still have a quorum. Checking on that. I didn't want to start making approvals if we can't. So that's done. I gotta make notes of what we do so I can make sure I find the right things tomorrow. So here's Rockwell. So I make a motion that we approve application for payment number 22 for Rockwell for the period ending December 31, 2020 in the amount of $529,841.20. I need a second. Dave went away. Somebody's got to
I'll
jump
second.
on it.
I'll second.
That's
it.
Roy. Thank you, Roy. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Done. And then Perkins Eastman.
Yes, all the invoices are.
Pick a school.
We're
So
gonna
pick a school to start with, and we'll do that whole school.
Okay. We're gonna pick Johnson.
Okay, let me get there. So this is the Johnson, the main one, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so make a motion that we approve invoice number 35, well, it's actually 68962.00.0-35 for the period ending December 31, 2020 for Perkins Eastman for Johnson School in the amount of $17,360.80.
I'll second that.
Roy seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Done. Next is FF&E for Johnson. Yes.
Yes.
So I make a motion that we approve invoice number 68962.01.0-17 Perkins Eastman for Johnson FF&E. Period ending December 31, 2020 in the amount of $6,462.95.
I'll second that.
Roy seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done. I'm assuming if anybody has questions, they will ask them. Washer dryer.
Uh-huh.
They're all kind of in order. Yeah. So I make a motion that we approve invoice number 68962.05.0-2 for Johnson School washer dryer design services period ending December 2020 in the amount of $800. We are not paying interest.
Correct.
So I have interest and made a note on it. So
Yeah, and Joe and I spoke about this. They'll reissue these invoices and remove the interest charges. So
Yeah,
that-
I am not sure how that gets on there because the invoice I reviewed does not have that on it.
Aha,
So I was surprised to see this again.
yes.
yeah, and these are not what I printed are ones that Geraldine had put on the had sent us. They're not the originals. I don't have usually I get the originals in enough time. You know, they go to Kathy because that's how they're addressed, but we haven't gotten the originals yet.
But they email me a
So-
copy of the original that goes to the town. So this is fine.
Right, and I don't know where they are.
Yeah.
So should I wait to get the one that has the correct amount, or should I, circle the 800 and?
Yeah, I
do
would, if it were me, I would just cross out the $24, circle the 800 and.
Yep. I did. Okay. Done. So did we vote on that?
Second,
Dave seconded. I have to go look at Kathy to see if did we vote on it yet, Kathy? No, we did not. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Done. And then we have the retaining wall for Johnson. So I make a motion that we approve invoice number 68962.06.0-2 for Johnson School retaining wall, period ending December 31, 2020, in the amount of $400, not the interest.
second,
I'll second that.
So Roy and Dave seconded. Any questions? The interest, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. So that should be all Johnson, and now we're doing Rockwell.
No, there should be another one. Do you have one for site work? So this is about the dumpster pad, no.
I think that's the field,
Here's this
isn't it?
I forget that one. I might not have printed it. I thought I saw it because it's the -3 one.
Right.
What did I do with it? Well, I may have to go back and see if I have it in my folder or if I just have to print it, which might be the case. Oh, wait, I got it. So I make a motion that we approve invoice number, they stick together sometimes, invoice number 68962.04.0-3 for Johnson site work, period ending December 31, 2020, in the amount of $3,593.06.
Second that.
Roy seconds, Dave does too, all in favor,
Aye.
opposed, done. And now we're on to Rockwell. So the main one, invoice number 35. Yep. Sorry, my fan's running, but I can't do anything about it right now. Make a motion that we approve invoice number 68961.00.0-35 for Rockwell School, period ending December 31, 2020, in the amount of $10,492.26. Dave seconds, and of course that extra amount is not interest, but reimbursable expenses, which are attached. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. Now we have FF&E for Rockwell. So I make a motion that we approve invoice number 68961.01.0-16 FF&E for Rockwell, period ending December 31, 2020, in the amount of $3,437.50.
Second.
Got seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Done.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Nope.
Yeah, washer dryer.
Yeah, Rockwell washer dryer. Here it is.
Yeah. So I make a motion, we approve invoice, Perkins Eastman invoice number 68961.05.0-2, washer dryer at Rockwell, period ending December 31, 2020, in the amount of $800. Again, no interest.
Second.
David Roy, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, done. That's it for Rockwell, I think. There was one less for Rockwell, I think, but I'm not sure.
Yep. Yeah, we don't have the site work one, so that's it. Yep.
That's it. I do have that one ESC one, which I will scan and send to you, Geraldine. And then the other one I have is that one on the, I think it's a WB Mason for the cabinets at
Yeah,
the, then you're working on that.
Yeah, you can throw that one away. I told them we're not paying. We already paid for those cabinets in October. And they're trying to figure out why we were sent an invoice, but.
Okay, so I can get rid of that. All right,
Yeah.
so the other one, like I said, is the ESC one, which I'll scan and send to you. I think that's it, unless anybody has anything more on our school projects.
I have one thing.
Sure, Jim, or Ken.
It's kind of, yeah, just,
Yep.
I want to just make sure I've got authority to have the concrete guys work overtime and open the plant for Saturday.
And Ken, did you have an estimate of what that was?
Yes, it's $3,568.
So that's a combination of opening the plant and doing the overtime?
Yes, the plant cost is $1,200 and the rest is the premium time.
Okay, so Yeah, you had brought that up earlier, and then I was wondering how do we go about doing that without paperwork, is one question, and I would take suggestions on that. And the other thing is, what I'm trying to remember, did we have the change order that we approved to do that work? And is this in addition? We don't have a change order, correct? We're doing,
Yeah, this was the previous change order, just modified to show the plant opening fee and then premium time for the employees.
but it's not a change order that we approved, I think, because we were still working on getting pricing for the steel and some other things, right?
That
Yeah,
one,
we
the steel is still open. But this part, the concrete part, was previously approved for
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we did.
$8,886.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, 105, number 105, probably was December 15th. I can go back and look, but yes, you already had a change order for the metal deck, repair concrete floor slab. Let's see.
So now are we in a position, obviously, to, this is obviously going to be a different change order. It's going to be the same change order number, but the figures are going to be updated?
I mean, we could just issue a change order to this contractor for this, for the added amount. So, because this one was previously approved.
So this one did have universal foundations. Would that be the contract or the concrete?
Yes, it would be.
Okay, so, and the steel is time and materials, partly because they were trying to do the whole profile thing. Is that what I remember?
Correct. Yeah, yes.
OAC
yeah.
meetings. So, but you're still working on getting the steel, or how can you?
No, they did it on a T&M on Saturday. So I just got to get that priced up. So it shouldn't be, that was a conservative number.
So you do have the steel, because obviously you wouldn't be able to pour the concrete if you didn't have the steel. Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
So could we just modify that and just add in the extra as far as the OT?
So right now, I think we're in a position, if the steel was going to be done time and materials at 15,000 we approved, is that a done deal, or are we going to get tickets on that and change the change order to, and have that be,
Correct. I would incorporate whatever that cost came out to be. And then same with this premium time and the plant opening. And, make an adjustment to this change order.
okay, so similar to the one we did for the flooring, this change order is going to have adjustments to it. Is that what we would do, Geraldine, or?
Yeah, but I would do it once. So I would ask that you give Rizzo the authorization to authorize that additional cost, the premium time and the plant opening. And then, sort of separate from this PCO. And then when those actual time and material costs are reconciled, they can adjust this PCO one time, adding in the premium cost for the concrete and giving us the real cost for anything that was time and materials here.
Okay, that makes sense. So we're looking at the additional 3,000 plus is above the 8,886 that's up there for universal foundations right now, right?
Yes.
So I'm thinking that we kind of have to do this because we're doing it on a Saturday, and I think we can't wait.
Agreed.
No.
There's obviously a way to do it, not on a Saturday, but we would have to wait till there's no school, which is not until I think President's Day,
Yeah.
which is the 15th of February. And that puts the school, Dr. Carver, et cetera, in continued difficult situation where there's no bathrooms on that floor.
Right.
So I think we're going to just have to go go and do it. So we'll do this by making a motion, and we don't have paperwork for it, but you'll get that paperwork together when you do. What's the amount again, Ken?
It's 3,568. 24 was the what it was gonna cost, but there's a little bit of markup. You need the exact today?
Can we
Because
do
we're
it
not-
not to, can we do it not to exceed?
Yeah, that'd probably be better.
So what's a good amount that we can throw in there for not to exceed?
If
Is,
you just
is,
put 4,000.
yeah, that's,
4,000?
yep,
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we approve authorizing Rizzo to go ahead with having Universal Foundations work both overtime and getting the plant open for concrete to do the second floor bathrooms at, where is it, Rockwell? Yes.
Yes.
well,
At Rockwell, and an amount not to exceed $4,000 with an adjusted change order. What's the change order number? Adjusted change order number 105 to be submitted with updated figures as soon as all those figures are known.
Second,
Dave seconds. Kathy, I'm sorry, you'll have to listen to the recording to get the whole thing. So any more discussion on that? On favor?
aye,
Aye. Opposed? Done. So with that, Ken, does this make it so that other work can be done either second shift, 3 to 11, to kind of get that whole area moving along further? Because the concrete, bringing that concrete's in seems to kind of be the biggest thing.
Yeah, because, we'll have tile work to do and the partitions.
Right. And so that can be done 3 to 11, after school's out, et cetera.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So is there anything else that, I have a question for you, Ken, which something that came up in a phone call last week, and I brought it up at the OAC meeting. The town has gotten a letter. You've got a copy of it. It was copied to you, and it was copied, I don't know why, to finance, which finance forwarded it to Marty Lawler, from young developers saying that their lawyer actually contacted you and the town saying you haven't paid them since October. Is that being worked on and resolved?
It is, and it's not surprising that the same roofer that's done damage to the roof of a building to the tune of $150 some odd thousand is the same one you have trouble closing a job out with.
Right.
First
Because-
of all, he doesn't even have accurate information. He's paid to date. We have issues with him as far as we have nothing yet from his insurance company. So that's obviously a concern. So we've contacted his bonding company. Within 2
Okay.
days of contacting his bonding company, we get a letter from his lawyer. So I would
Yeah.
imagine one thing to do with the other. We'll
Right.
respond to his attorney's letter. I'll copy Geraldine on that, and we'll continue to work on closing him out.
Okay, because when I looked back at the your applications for payments and the specific number, I mean, they've been paid a considerable amount of money.
Yes.
If you've paid them what you have on your applications for payment. I mean, they're maybe owed $35,000 or something like that on a 700 and something, almost 800,000 dollar job, which they effed up nicely. Not, but I don't know if we know if this is their MO. So I don't know if that's their MO, but yeah, if you're pursuing it, great. Thanks for that information. Any other questions for anybody here on school stuff? We have more work to do. We're going to keep working on it. Subcommittee needs to meet ASAP again. We did meet briefly, although we had trouble getting Dave in on it. So this time we'll work on it so we can get Dave in on it. Is there anything else?
Nope.
Okay, public site people, don't go anywhere because we have just a few other things I need to
Good night.
update you on, but Ken, Jim, thank you, Scott, thank you, Geraldine, thank you, Joe.
Bye, all.
Good night, everyone.
We can't
All right,
see,
thank
wait,
you.
we can't wait to see where Joe broadcasts from next.
I'll come up
And
with
Geraldine,
something.
yep, Geraldine will send out the OAC meeting info to anybody who wants to be a part of that on Thursday.
Good night.
All
Good
right.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
All right, so, why do we only have 4 of us now?
Gil disappeared.
No, there was one, so Horvath left, Perna never came, Germanaro. Where did Gil go to? So have we been approving things without Gil and
Yes.
shit?
Oh,
So
we had
that's,
Steve, so we had 5.
but Dave was gone.
No,
When we-
Dave-
Moving invoices, Dave was gone.
But you had Dave Olson.
yeah, I thought Dave Olson.
Right, we did have, sorry, yes, Dave Olson, I'm sorry.
So you were
thank
okay there, but now you're
Yes.
probably gonna be not okay. if you
Yeah,
try
now, right, we can't do anything because we don't have anything to do, but I can give you an update quickly. On the police station, I had word from Marty Lawler that the Becht report was due to him on Monday last week, but it didn't come. And then he said he thought he'd have it by the end of last week and still hasn't gotten it. So that is the report, their initial report, plus the infrared survey they did of the roof. So we're still waiting on that. And obviously it has to go to the Board of Selectmen first, and they have to deal with it, and then they got to give it to us. I had a phone call from Jeff Anderson from Downs, which I took. Sometimes I don't really know whether I should or not, but was extremely apologetic because Attorney Robinson, who's representing the town in the firing range situation, sent 2 letters to Downs about the firing range, about the reports, and some suggestions, and never heard back from Downs. Come to find out, they addressed it to Ryan Patrick, who's not been in the office. He's been in a field situation for months. And so it just sat there, and he was very apologetic that finally someone unearthed these. He wasn't sure if it was a post office mess up, which I've had a lot of post office mess ups recently where I've mailed things, just regular letters, and they take 3 weeks to get to their destination, a month.
Yep.
So it could have been post office, it could have been Ryan not being in the office. And so they've responded to Attorney Robinson. He references the Becht report, but they haven't given him the Becht report yet. So they're waiting to get that so they can then review it and respond to it. That's as much as we know with the firing range. With the other part of the project, I thought Chris Baldwin was ready to just finish the CO. And then I haven't heard anything. The roof situations were that one leak over the conference room was handled and dealt with. And I thought it was handled. Chris was looking for photos and stuff and beyond, I think, what he needs, but then he was happy with it. And there was one other situation. Oh, the bollards, they fixed all those. They were just, when they put the sleeves back on, they just didn't fit the set screws into the right place. I explained that last time. And then another thing came up, which Public Works got, Kathy sent me the information, got a request to fix a leaky faucet in the Sallyport, which is an emergency eye wash station set right inside the Sallyport before you enter the building, so that if an officer, or I suppose even a suspect or whatever, comes in needing that, it can be done right there. Ben from Public Works said that that was something that was supposed to be replaced like a ball valve or something, was supposed to be replaced last summer and it wasn't done. I sent that information to Downs, haven't heard anything back. So I don't know if that is holding Chris Baldwin up with his CO. I kind of think it shouldn't, but because if it needs to get fixed, it needs to get fixed, but I'm not sure if that's what's holding up the CO. Because once the CO is done, I think I've had this conversation, actually phone conversation with Marty. The application for payment that Downs gave us should be ready to be approved because all of the amounts in there have very little to do with the firing range. And again, once that, the only retainage left in there for the firing range to CT Masons is $2,500. And we don't know if they're going to walk away for that, but we can't withhold other money if it's due to earth movers or if it's due, actually the second highest amount is due to Ferguson. But it's the amount, their contract amount, retainage, and for work that they haven't completed yet. So that's all done. So that's where we are with that. I don't know if anybody has any questions on any of it.
Nancy, wasn't there something about a clogged gutter that I think Public Works took care of?
So something that came up during, and I don't know if Public Works did anything with it.
I mean,
Kathy, I don't know if you know, but something that came up during the time when they were looking at, when Downs showed up, look at the that exhaust fan installation over the top of the conference room that was determined that's kind of where the water was leaking. There was some flashing that they had to, they kind of peeled some stuff back and found that there was flashing that needed to extend further. They did that, reinstalled everything, retested it with the garden hose, and nothing leaked. They had a guy in the attic watching it. I wasn't there, but that's what I was told. At that time, at the same time, Pugner pointed out to them some ceiling tiles in his office, in the chief's office, a ceiling tile that had gotten wet, apparently from a leak. And they went up on the roof and found leaves and stuff in the gutter and in the valley and cleaned that all out and determined that that was why the leak, that there had been a backup there, and replaced the ceiling tile, which made it so that there were no more ceiling tiles left. So they were going to get more ceiling tiles, deliver those. And in a conversation with Pugner, he kind of felt like that the leaves backing up, the leaves being there, couldn't have been this situation because there's no trees hanging over there. I have no trees hanging over my house and I get leaves in my gutters. They blow around at places. So that might be something that needs to be on Public Works radar to check that periodically. But that needs to be something that comes from the police department as part of maintenance of their building.
Right.
And not necessarily from us.
Yeah, I mean,
Kathy's shaking her head.
If it's leaves, that has nothing to do with Downs or the building committee.
No.
We have no control over that.
No, Pugner was reticent about accepting that as a reason, but I can understand for any trees anywhere nearby, they're going to blow around in a windstorm and settle where they want. So anything else? You guys don't need to be, well, so Dino, I have to ask you, are you still going to step off or are you going to wait a bit? I had heard something, I had heard rumors.
As far as I know, they have not made any recommendations at this point. And, you know, I told them that I'd be willing to wait until, you know, a couple months or whatever. So.
Okay, because I had heard, and again, that's why I wanted to check with you. They have not made recommendations. Republican Town Committee has not made recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. But I also had heard that you were going to stick it out till the end of the school project. But I don't know if that's really what you said.
Well,
whether somebody was interpreting like, oh, we got Dino for another.
For another how long? I mean, you know, if the school project's like the police project, you don't have me to the end. You know, that'll be another 2 years.
Right. But as far as you know, the Republican Town Committee is doing some processes to find somebody, and you're going to stick with us until they are able to find somebody.
Correct. We have a meeting tomorrow night, so I'll bring it up.
Okay. All right. And you would not, since you're not appointed, you would not need to get sworn in, but do remain a member until is chosen to, so you remain a voting member. It's was verified by Marty and somebody else, I can't remember.
Okay.
But you remain a voting member if you can stick in with us and vote and be a part of the quorum. That would be great. And then when they do find somebody, make sure they find somebody good. Okay.
In Horvath.
Find somebody of your caliber or higher. Okay. Raising that bar. And I have nothing new on, municipal center renovations. I know that I was asked recently by Eileen Earle if we had a figure for doing those renovations, because she was asked during one of her budget presentations. And I explained to her that I did not have a figure, that we had a kind of guesstimate figure that we were throwing around of something like 650, that we did not put an RFP out. I'm just making an assumption. It's not a good time to be doing that financially. Not a good time to be doing stuff like that, but it's also kind of, since the building's closed down a lot, a good time to do the work. So I know Richie instructed us to get that RFP out there, so we kind of have to consider working on that in all of our spare time. But what I did suggest to Eileen, and I'm not sure how to get this any further, is that what's happening at the Municipal Center right now is, if you've not been in there, that entry near the GP room that we looked at as the, being renovated, that door that's there, the double door there, was slated to be replaced as part of the project. Down the hall in the other direction, near the first selectman's office, is another double door that is not being used regularly as an entry to the building. It also has signs plastered all over it, reminding us all not to go out that door, because we're in the building, we can go out any door we want. Because there's problems with it, that it doesn't always latch, doesn't always lock. People walk out that door and then other people walk in. And then even further down, the single door near the tax collector's office is having problems too. And I always see Greg from building maintenance there fiddling with those doors. He corrects them as best he can, and then they're problematic, and then he works on them again. So my suggestion would be to replace all those 3 doors as a kind of lump sum project. Put together some, I don't know if we need plans, but put together to replace all 3 doors, GP room 1, include that landing that needs to be redone, and somehow come up with a price to do that, and then do 1 door at a time. Do the single one near the tax collector's office, do the one near the double door near the first selectman's office, and then they would have to move the official entryway down temporarily near the first selectman's office, set that up somehow so it's both efficient and COVID safe and all that. Then do the GP room 1 and the landing that was originally slated to be done, and get that stuff done. So I did email all that to Eileen Earle and heard nothing back, which probably was not what she wanted to hear. I may email it to Matt and Rich and see what they think. And then the last thing I will bring up is I was on a meeting at 2:00 this afternoon with the people on the solar project. And this is, we've had them, Bill Craddy is the Energy Conservation Commission, but it's also the people, Adam, who I think came to one of our meetings early on, and a few other people from whatever companies they're from, working on putting solar on Johnson, Rockwell, and the track and field house, the new track and field house. So they needed to ask some questions about the next steps in the project, of who are their contact people within the town for the project. And they had me and Narrow, they wanted us to be on the call, and I had a conversation with Geraldine and decided that she didn't need to, because she's not part of that project. And Matt Knickerbocker's suggestion that and I be a part of it as part of the building committee. But the building committee, I explained during the meeting, the building committee was not assigned that project. So it's not our responsibility to be a part of it. And I did explain that back to Matt. So for the project now, there's 2 needs. One is a logistics kind of contact, and that's going to be Bob Germanero because he has access to the schools. I don't. He can help them decide what days best to work and all that. And then they need also a financial person because there's some documents that need to be signed, and because there's a whole reimbursement process the town gets through this. So that's going to go through the finance department through Bob Kozlowski or Brad Herring. So just so you know, that's kind of where that project is. And I think they need anything more from us as a building committee. Because we gave them all the information they need on structure, and Bob's getting them electrical drawings, and they should just kind of go off and be on their own, and we shouldn't have to be a part of it. And I think we have to wait on election of officers because we can't vote on anything right now. So I'm going to have to keep doing this. I saw Matt Knickerbocker today, and while I was in the municipal center doing some not paid registrar work, he said, because I've been emailing with him for, I don't know, a week about getting this RAP thing signed while he tries to, and then also the Rizzo thing that anyways, he said, I know it's a volunteer position, but how much time do you spend on that? And I said, you don't even want to know.
Exactly.
It's true for all of us. There's so much that we have to read and be prepared to deal with at every meeting, which is crazy, but maybe it'll slow down soon.
I think so.
All right, so Roy, I'll be in touch with you and Dave Olson and John Perna, and we'll figure in the subcommittee meeting together. Kathy, I will come over in the morning sometime with some stuff signed, and then hopefully Ken will have already dropped off those apps and we'll get those signed. And Rizzo's already been asking finance, I don't know, yesterday where the check is. We haven't even approved it yet.
Right.
Okay, then, okay? We good?
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Good night, Nancy.
Yep.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.